On the northwest side, complete jam fest right now. 86th Street up to 865 because of the crash we talked about on the eastbound lane. Also, northbound 465 southeast side, vehicle fire after a 74. It has the right lane blocked. Traffic sponsored by Jackson Hewitt. It matters who does your taxes. Jackson Hewitt offers you your biggest refund guaranteed or your money back plus $100. Hurry into Jackson Hewitt today. I'm Matt Bear. Follow us for instant traffic updates at WIBC Traffic.
Hey, this is Spencer Thompson at Thompson Furniture and Mattress in Columbus. Imagine sleeping on a cloud with a new Tempur-Pedic, Stearns & Foster, or Sealy mattress, and you can say goodbye to restless nights and waking up sore, and you get the sleep you deserve and want. Don't miss our President's Day mattress sale where you can save up to $800, get free delivery, and interest-free financing. Sale ends Tuesday, February 27th, only at Thompson Furniture and Mattress in Columbus.
Everyone wants energy that's reliable and affordable. I've been a Duke Energy line worker here in Indiana for almost 20 years. So I'm proud to help deliver that for the people and the communities that matter most to me. With stronger, more resilient systems, better able to stand up to severe weather, and support for local businesses and jobs. It feels good knowing I'm helping build a smarter energy future for all of us.
Paid for by Duke Energy shareholders.
The forecast from the American Standard Heating Weather Center.
Mostly cloudy, mild, and a bit breezy this afternoon. Today's high 61. Cloudy skies, a few spotty showers tonight. Mild temperatures, lows around 50. I'm Wish TV Storm Track 8 meteorologist Marcus Bailey for 93 WIBC.
Mostly cloudy, 48 on Monument Circle. I'm Kurt Darling on the level, on the go, and on WIBC.com.
This hour on 93 WIBC is powered by Pierce Jewelers, Carmel's Diamond Engagement Ring Store.
You're listening to Rob Kendall.
When we talk about sending money somewhere, we're talking about printing the money because we have no money.
And Casey Daniels.
My government would never lie to me, would they?
On 93 WIBC.
Good morning. It is Thursday, February 8th. It is 6 minutes after 9. You're listening to Kendall and Casey on 93 WIBC. So as expected, the Senate's vote to advance that border bill failed yesterday. It's the first of two votes that Chuck Schumer is forcing on the issue. The second one removes the border provisions. So pretty much he gave everybody two options. The first option was money for Ukraine and Israel without border money. And then the second option was with border money. But those are the choices, nothing else. So where is the third option, which is the border money without Ukraine money?
This whole Ukraine fetish is wild because, again, it would be one thing if it wouldn't make it any better, but it would be one thing if it was some country we have long-standing economic and, military ties to, and you would say, all right, I don't agree with this, but I at least understand the conversation. Like the Israel conversation, I actually understand. They shouldn't be paired to border security, but I get the Israel conversation about should we give them more money? How much should we give them? What should it go for? While disagree that we should be giving more money, I understand the conversation. This one is beyond puzzling because we are talking about refusing to secure our southern border over a country that doesn't even like us.
Well, it's not even going to be up for debate now. However, here's the interesting part. Chuck Schumer, he switched his vote to no at the end as well. Now, that's a procedural move that allows him to call the bill back up for reconsideration. But it's interesting that he's out there blasting everybody, especially Donald Trump, who doesn't even get a vote. And he voted no at the end himself.
I get this all the time. In politics, where something is my fault, we get this all the time from the whatever establishment people, supporters, whatever. It's our fault. We're this, we're that. And I will say, how could it be my fault if something doesn't go forward in the government or doesn't pass? We don't have a vote. It's the same thing here. Donald Trump doesn't have a vote. You people can do whatever you want to do whenever you want to do it. Your job, Chuck Schumer, is to find 50 votes, or depending on how the procedural issue works, 60 votes. That is not Donald Trump's responsibility. and an inability to act by Chuck Schumer because he is insistent upon tying this money for the border to the Ukraine. And let's face it, the Republicans want to do that as well. The Mitch McConnell and Todd Young and those people, they want to give this money to Ukraine. They desperately want to print $60 billion, make inflation worse, add to the national debt. They want to do it. They just were so besieged with negative phone calls and emails and however else you can correspond with your elected officials these days that they had to pull back on it. Yep. They want to do it. They're working to do it. They're working to screw you over. They just can't figure out a way to thread that needle yet.
So Indiana Senator Mike Braun, he said that the Dems built a weak bill, but Chuck Schumer just attacking Donald Trump, saying that he is the one who is causing chaos in the House.
Donald Trump wants chaos. Donald Trump does not want success at the border. He wants chaos, and if he became president, I doubt he'd ever solve it, as Mitch McConnell said. And so we want them to pass the border bill, and if they vote against border, America will know who is for fixing the border and who is not. But if it fails, we still believe Ukraine, Israel, humanitarian aid to the Middle East and help in Indochina, as well as strengthening our military, is vitally important. For all those Republicans who said, who first said, we want it with border, and now say we want it without border, they got both options. On amendments, because I know you'll ask that, we have always been for a fair and open amendment process. Under my leadership, we've done far more amendments than when McConnell was majority leader, and we will have a fair and open process on amendments, okay?
You're in the same position you were 5 months ago, trying to pass this bill without border. Do you have any assurances that the Speaker would actually bring this bill up in the House?
Look, the bottom line is the majority of Republicans in the House said they want to do Ukraine, they want to do Israel, and we hope that if we pass it in the Senate, that the House would then rise to the occasion. The House is in chaos. It doesn't behoove the Speaker well to block everything because 30 hard right-wing people just want chaos like Donald Trump does.
So he continues just to blame everything on Donald Trump, and then he even got a dig in for Mitch McConnell and then the Speaker of the House, when in fact it was Biden's executive action that dissolved the Trump-era border security. And it was Biden who refused to enforce the existing laws.
Of course. And let's say this right now. I'm not for one more penny going to Ukraine. And people can be mad at me if they want. We have seen no tangible result from all the money that we have sent them. They have fought to a stalemate, which I don't care, Casey. I know that's going to come off as callous to people, but I do not care about what happens somewhere with a country. I mean, the people try to frame it as though it's like reliable American ally who we can totally trust and has always been in our corner, or, Stalin. That's not true. Is Putin a bad guy? Sure he is. Are the Ukrainians corrupt? Yeah, absolutely. Will the Ukrainians eventually turn on us? Absolutely. Is there any guarantee that these weapons and the stuff we send them won't end up in the hands like it always does? It always does, Casey. Every time we get involved in somebody else's mess, it screws us, and the stuff we send them ends up in the hands of somebody who likes us even less than the people we sent the stuff to. Vladimir Putin is a murderer and a thug and a lunatic. There's lots of thugs and murderers and lunatics we are in bed with all over the globe. If you're asking me, Rob, would you rather not print any more money and find a way to deal with Vladimir Putin in which we have reliable ability to work together on terrorism, on commerce, on energy? If those are my two options, if that is the best option I have, I'm taking that every time. I am so sick of people acting as though if you object to what we're doing in Ukraine, you're somehow anti-patriot or anti-patriotic or anti-American, or Ukraine's problem is Ukraine's problem. And it is laughable to think that Vladimir Putin has the ability or the means or the wherewithal, if he somehow wins this relatively small portion of land, to push We're not even talking about the whole Ukraine at this point. We were talking about a sliver of land in the Ukraine. He can't even do that on his own. Yet we're led to believe that unless we send these guys $60 billion, that he is going to somehow push all the way to Poland.
You mean an additional $60 billion?
Right, Casey. That is laughable. And it is always, we know where the money went. We know where a whole bunch of this money went to pay people's salaries. We know it went to prop up elitists in Ukraine. We know a bunch of it ended up in the hands of the FTX guy.
Yep.
Which went to Democrats.
It went to keep some of their stores open, their fashion industry going.
Not one more penny for these people until there is an audit and there's an evaluation and the American people can see, here's the money we sent, here's where it went, and here is how it helped me. I am so sick of my printed money that punishes me and you and Kevin every day, and that my kid and my grandkids and their grandkids will have to pay back. I am so sick of hearing that I am somehow anti-American or anti-patriotic or pro-Putin if I simply say I'm done giving money to people who don't want to be accountable for it and don't even like me.
So another thing that happened this week, of course, is the GOP failed to impeach Secretary of Homeland Security Alejandro Mayorkas, and 3 Republicans defected from the party line, voted against it. And Matt Gaetz has come out and said that he's never missed George Santos more because he wasn't there to be able to vote with them. And the Speaker of the House, Mike Johnson, he's finally speaking out about the failed impeachment.
Yeah, on impeachment, last night was a setback, but democracy is messy. We live in a time of divided government. We have a razor-thin margin here, and every vote counts. Sometimes when you're counting votes and people show up when they're not expected to be in the building, it changes the equation. But listen, we have a duty and a responsibility to take care of this issue. We have to hold the Secretary of the Department of Homeland Security accountable. Mayorkas needs to be held accountable. The Biden administration needs to be held accountable, and we will pass those articles of impeachment. We'll do it on the next round.
Next round. So it sounds to me like they're just going to keep circling back to these same issues that they've been working on for months and months and months.
So it was, I think the vote was 216 to 214. So he's got to come up with 2 more, and then what? So you're going to impeach this guy after you failed. And then let's say you get it across the finish line. What, you think the Senate is going to be just itching to take this up, and Schumer's going to make it a priority, and he's going to drop everything he's doing over there? And
no, we know what Schumer's priority is, and that's sending money to Ukraine.
So what are we doing here?
Yeah.
And it is another example of these Republicans who have the solution right in front of them, which is choke off the money, stop funding Biden's priorities, force him to get his act together, get Mayorkas out of there, get the border under control. They have the ability to do that, but they're not interested in solving the problem. They are interested in mass illegal immigration the same way the Democrats are, but they want you to believe that they are not. So they are continuing on with this ridiculous, illogical. I heard somebody who works here yesterday advocating, even though constitutionally there's not a high crime or misdemeanor, to just go ahead and go forward with it. That's insane. Well, the Democrats ignore the Constitution all the time. So where does it end? Why do we even have the thing at this point? Mayorkas is a complete scumbag, and he sucks at his job, and he's totally incompetent. But is that where we're at now, where we admit there's no high crime or misdemeanor, but just it doesn't matter?
So he was in Las Vegas yesterday Mayorkas was preparing for the Super Bowl, because that's where he belongs. And he was asked a question about the impeachment, and we'll get his answer coming up from 93 WIBC.
This could be one of the most consequential elections in our lifetime.
Who will be our next president? Next senator? Governor?
And just as important,
who will represent us in the General Assembly?
You have a voice with your one vote.
Unhappy with the current state of affairs? You can do something about it.
Voting is one of our most important rights as Americans.
It's how you can stand up for your beliefs,
your values,
and for future generations.
Registration to vote in the May primary is open through April 8th.
From 93 WIBC and Urban One.
Our country is being invaded. Thousands pour across the southern border every day, bringing fentanyl and violence. Who's to blame? Career politicians like Jim Banks. As a member of Congress, Jim Banks said that Indiana needed an influx of immigration. Jim Banks campaigned with political insiders like Paul Ryan and is endorsed by Mitch McConnell, who sabotaged the building of Trump's border wall. Jim Banks has betrayed Indiana on the border.
I'm John Rust, and I'm running to be your next United States Senator. I am a farmer, businessman, and political outsider. My opponent, Jim Banks, talks a big game about border security. Don't be fooled. Since Jim Banks said he wanted an influx of immigrants, we've seen over 8 million illegals pour into our nation. Jim Banks got his wish. Hoosiers don't want a senator who speaks out of both sides of his mouth, and America can't afford it. I am John Rust. I approve this message because I'll make sure Trump's border wall actually gets built from the Gulf of Mexico to the Pacific Ocean.
Paid for by John Rust for U.S. Senate.
Your health is about so much more than your medical needs. So shouldn't your health plan be too? If you qualify for Medicare and Medicaid, a Humana Medicare Advantage dual eligible special needs plan could help you buy essentials you need. Get $3,000 a year for eligible groceries, rent, utilities, and more. Plus, whatever you don't spend rolls over to the next month. You'll even get benefits like $0 copays on routine prescriptions, plus routine dental, vision, and hearing coverage. Get peace of mind with a Medicare plan that is there for the big moments and every moment in between. Learn more at gethumana.com. Humana, a more human way to healthcare. Humana is a coordinated care plan with a Medicare contract and a contract with the Indiana Medicaid program. Enrollment in any Humana plan depends on contract renewal. Allowance amounts cannot be combined with other benefit allowances. Limitations and restrictions may apply.
Show your love this Valentine's with exquisite fashion jewelry from Diamonds Direct and save an extra 20%. Now through Valentine's, all fashion favorites at Diamonds Direct are on sale. All earrings, all bracelets, all necklaces, stackable bands, colored gemstone jewelry, and more. Lots of romantic and timeless gifts for under $500. Special financing available too. Don't miss this. An extra 20% savings on all fashion jewelry favorites at Diamonds Direct. Shop in store or online at diamondsdirect.com. Diamonds Direct. Your love, our passion.
My husband, Bob, has Parkinson's, and he needs more help now, and I need more support to help him. Thanks to Indiana Pathways for Aging, we're getting the support we need to help him right here at home, like with meal prep and basic personal care, and even respite support for me.
Pathways provides Hoosier Medicaid members, age 60 and over, support for care their way, so they can live life their way. The program begins in summer of 2024. Call 87-PATHWAY-4 or visit in.gov/pathways.
Why choose a Sleep Number smart bed? Because no two people sleep the same. Only the Sleep Number smart bed lets you each choose your individual firmness and comfort, your Sleep Number setting. The Climate 360 smart bed is so smart it actively cools or warms up to 13 degrees on either side for your ideal sleep temperature. And now, during our President's Day sale, save 50% on the Sleep Number Limited Edition Smart Bed, plus free home delivery when you add an adjustable base. Ends Monday. To find a store near you, visit sleepnumber.com.
Still thinking about what to get her for Valentine's Day? Make that special occasion last forever and surprise her with a gift from Pierce Jewelers in Carmel. Shop local, shop smart, shop Pierce Jewelers.
It's the Kendall and Casey Show.
Listen, I'm a politician, which means I'm a cheat and a liar. And when I'm not kissing babies, I'm stealing their lollipops.
On 93 WIBC.
If you ever wanted a lesson on spin, boy, we've got it for you. Do you remember earlier in the week when Joe Biden came out and said that he wasn't going to be doing the traditional pre-Super Bowl interview?
Yeah.
A lot of eyeballs will be there. You think it'd be a great opportunity for him, and instead he's choosing not to. And you got to think to yourself, well, why is that? Is it because he can't string a sentence together and he would look like a buffoon in front of millions of people?
Yeah, it is fascinating because so it's pregame, right? It's not the actual game itself, but you obviously, as you're closing in on the broadcast of the Super Bowl, you've got tens of millions of eyeballs on you. While there's always legitimate questions being asked of a world importance or whatever, it's not a real grilling that a seasoned politician would struggle to handle. And there's a lot of
they're
fluff.
softball questions.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So why wouldn't he do it, right?
It's crazy, isn't
Great
it?
opportunity.
It's crazy.
Get his name out there. Get his face out there. More people watching, right? Well, the reason he's not going to do it is for you. Check this out.
Anything specifically on why you're not doing the Super Bowl interview? I mean, that's a massive audience in an election year of people who may not be tuned into this White House or this election at this moment.
So look, as you know, Super Bowl is a great annual tradition. Look, the president Biden looks forward to watching the game this Sunday, just like millions of, as you just stated, just like millions of Americans are going to be doing that. And look, we hope that the viewers who tuned in, we know that the viewers who tuned in, they tuned in to watch the game, right? And so obviously, that is. That is just a fact. They want to see the game. They want to see their favorite team. They want to see a halftime show. That is what it's that type of tradition. The president will find many other ways to communicate with Americans, the millions of Americans out there, and we will find those ways to do it where we think the time is right.
Okay. So he's doing it for us.
That's the way she lies is, it is sociopath beyond description. So we are led to believe. So they're going to spend hundreds of millions of dollars, maybe even $1 billion by the time it's all said and done running for re-election. The goal of that obviously is to get in front of people. That's what you're buying when you're buying advertising.
Right.
And they offer you the opportunity. Right. I don't know how many people are watching the Super Bowl pregame show, but let's say it's a cool 50 mil. You get a free, whatever it is, 10 minutes or however long in front of 50 million people with largely softball questions. And you go, nah,
we don't want to interrupt. People are tuning in for the game. The game's not even started yet.
Yeah.
We're going to pass on that. Is it because he hates football?
Yeah. So think about this. Okay? So this is a great example because today's obviously a big day. Suzanne Crouch is going to be here at 10:30. And that's going to be off the charts, the amount of people are going to be listening to that. Because why? They want to hear what she has to say and she knows what she's going to get asked. She's going to get asked questions that nobody else is asking. And people want to know, is she going to break from Holcomb on the things we talk about every day? Is she going to embrace them? She's coming in because she recognizes she will have a large amount of people. She knows we're going to be tough on her, but we're going to be fair. She knows she's not going to get sandbagged. And so she says, clearly she has something she wants to say. So she's coming in to do that. That's a radio show. The Super Bowl, Casey.
Yeah.
He's
not going to be asked tough questions. That's the thing. They're lifestyle questions. How are you and Jill celebrating the Super Bowl?
This is the game.
What are you guys going to eat? What flavor ice cream are you having?
This is the game that we play. And part of the reason it's rare that we have politicians on, and I told somebody who works here this the other day, is because usually they're very boring and they add absolutely nothing to the conversation and people either fall asleep or change the dial. However, someone like her or any of these governor candidates, it is timely and important because of the makeup of our show and how we are critical in ways other people aren't. So unlike other shows, people will tune in to say, oh my gosh, what's going to happen? That's the way this works with the politicians and the media. They use us, we use you, and for Biden to act like, oh no, I'm totally above that. I wouldn't want to ruin it for everyone.
I don't want to ruin it for you. I'm not going to do the pre-Super Bowl interview for you. It is Kendall and Casey. It's 93 WIBC, and Jim Merritt is going to join us next.
Denise has been playing jazz for 40 years. Last concert, one of the musicians fell sick with RSV. Respiratory syncytial virus, or RSV, is a highly contagious virus that can lead to breathing problems. This time, she's choosing to help protect herself with Pfizer's RSV vaccine, Abrysvo. Abrysvo is a vaccine for the prevention of lower respiratory tract disease caused by respiratory syncytial virus, RSV, in adults 60 years of age and older. Abrysvo is not for everyone and may not protect all who receive the vaccine. Don't get Abrysvo if you've had a severe allergic reaction to its ingredients. People with a weakened immune system may have a decreased response to Abrysvo. The The most common side effects are tiredness, headache, pain at the injection site, and muscle pain. Ask your pharmacist or doctor about Pfizer's RSV vaccine, Abrysvo, respiratory syncytial virus vaccine. For full prescribing information, please call 1-844-989-7284 or visit abrysvo.com. Brought to you by Pfizer.
Chuck loves the word grit, and I think he saw that in his father because his dad worked very hard.
Dorn Goodrich on family and her son, Chuck Goodrich.
We struggled. We had 4 children. We both worked, but we always paid our bills.
Chuck Goodrich was raised in a working-class home focused on faith, sacrifice, and a strong work ethic. As a young man, Chuck Goodrich worked at a gas station and a pizza shop. To pay his way through Purdue, Chuck worked at a campground, living in a tent one summer to save more money.
I said, but son, where are you going to live? He said, well, I got a tent, and I'm going to stay in that tent. He was willing to do whatever it took.
Now, Chuck Goodrich's sacrifice, grit, and relentless work ethic have paid off. Goodrich employs 2,000 people at Gaylor Electric.
He wants people to succeed because God gave him a heart for people.
Chuck Goodrich, conservative leader, Hoosier heart.
I'm Chuck Goodrich, and I approve this message.
Paid for by Go with Chuck Goodrich Committee.
93 WIBC Mobile News. On the level, on the go.
They hear the case today. Radar is clear. It's partly cloudy and 49 downtown. I'm Kirk Darling. Here's what's trending at 9:30. The Supreme Court will hear a case today in which former President Trump's lawyers will argue why their client should be on the presidential ballot in Colorado. That state's high court recently cited the 14th Amendment's insurrectionist clause as a reason to keep Trump off the ballot.
We're here to stand for the right to vote for the candidate of our choice. This should not be a partisan issue. This is an American issue.
Senator Tom Tuberville leading a group of lawmakers outside of the high court today in support of Trump. The military's worst fears realized five Marines who took off in a helicopter from a base near Las Vegas this week and had been missing in California have been found dead. A search began for their helicopter after it was reported overdue Wednesday. The helicopter was found yesterday in Pine Valley. It's not clear yet why it went down. Your opening bell report on 93 WIBC brought to you by Absolute Wealth Management, LLC. We're mixed at the opening bell. The Dow is up 35 to 38,809. The NASDAQ is down 13 to 17,828. And the S&P 500 is down 3.5 to 5,011. I'm Kirk Darling, on the level, on the go, and on WIBC.com.
Why choose a Sleep Number smart bed? Because no 2 people sleep the same. Only the Sleep Number smart bed lets you each choose your individual firmness and comfort, your Sleep Number setting. The Climate 360 smart bed is so smart it actively cools or warms up to 13 degrees on either side for your ideal sleep temperature. And now, during our President's Day sale, save 50% on the Sleep Number limited edition smart bed, plus free home delivery when you add an adjustable base. Ends Monday. To find a store near you, visit sleepnumber.com.
This is a special alert to all Americans who own a vehicle with less than 200,000 miles with an auto warranty about to expire or with no warranty coverage at all. Due to a decline in the economy, CarShield is announcing a low-cost month-to-month vehicle protection plan that is now available to the public to save any driver out-of-pocket expenses on future auto repairs. Call now to find out how you can pay almost nothing for covered auto repairs. Yes, you heard that correctly. Pay almost nothing for covered auto repairs. An open phone line has been established for all drivers to call for a free quick quote. Call 800-364-1031 now. Drivers who are covered will not have to pay for covered repairs again. This protection plan is at an all-time low. Additionally, drivers who activate this vehicle protection today will also receive free roadside assistance, free towing, and car rental options at no additional cost. Call us for your free quick quote today. 800-364-1031. That's 800-364-1031. What do you have to lose? Call 800-364-1031. Again, 800-364-1031.
Greetings from R&R Agency, your Indiana health insurance pros, and a sincere thank you to our loyal customers for helping make us national sales leaders for the 7th year in a row. We continue to save our new clients 30 to 40% when compared to their current ACA, short-term, COBRA, or small group programs. Breaking news. On July the 7th, President Biden signed an executive order outlawing short-term health plans. If you're on a short-term plan or just unhappy with your present coverage, call Terry or Ron at 317-563-0868 or go to rragency.org. That's 317-563-0868 or rragency.org. If you don't call us, we can't help you. Our coverages are guaranteed to age 65 with zero deductible and zero copay options, all on the largest network in the country. Give us a call. What the heck you got to lose? As always, God bless America, or at least what's left of her.
Tonight down on Union Street, I'm thinking back, baby, you and me.
93 WIBC, it is the Kendall and Casey show, and oh my goodness, look at that smiling face. It is time to check in on the latest of what's going on at Indiana politics and government, and for that we have our own in-house expert. He spent 30 years in the Indiana Senate, the great Jim Merritt. Hello.
Good Thursday. I always look forward to this 15 minutes.
You are just a ray of sunshine, and you're actually wearing a bright yellow sweater today, and that is just the perfect appearance for you.
You got to be happy in February in Indiana.
And we're glad you're here because you always know where the bodies are buried in Indiana politics and government. And let's start with, speaking of burying bodies, this thing with Diego Morales, just even by Diego standards, because let's face it, Diego is a total buffoon, and he has no business being in charge of a Wendy's, much less important things like elections and businesses and everything else. But he is. And even by Diego's standards, this was just totally incredible, because I'm talking about Jim Banks files to run for U.S. Senate. He turns his signatures in, and Diego's first action as Secretary of State, who will oversee the election, is to not only declare Jim Banks the winner and the next senator and his full endorsement and take a picture with him. He does it all from his office in the Indiana State House. And any person, Jim, whether you are a State House employee, whether you are an office holder, whether you're a whatever, the moment you walk in the building, and I've been there and been through the employee training and orientation, is they tell you, you can't do any politics inside this building. You want to do that? Go walk across the street to the Cafe Patachu and do it over there. And he did it.
Yeah. Well, you know, I can speak from my own experience that in the Indiana Senate, you could not talk about your campaign for re-election. I actually had a press conference in the chamber, Indiana Senate chamber, and we were talking about a pro-law enforcement issue that we were going to tackle in the coming session. And there was actually a candidate for a Senate seat that was in the body, in the chamber itself. And I got accused of politics because there was a candidate, not a state senator, in on the press conference, and I lamented that, and I thought I was wrong, and I apologize to the public on it, because you can't have politics in the State House. There was a long-time law that probably still on the books, but it's ignored now, that money cannot exchange hands in the State House itself. You can go down to the canteen and buy a Diet Coke, but that's about it. You cannot exchange monies, and the reason why is because there's got to be a fine line between politics and government.
And this is I think the super concerning thing about Diego is there's a strong chance Diego is so clueless he didn't know that. And I don't know what's worse, not knowing it, because you are in charge of elections. You are the umpire of elections of the state of Indiana. First of all, it's bad enough, even if he was in the State House, that he declares some guy the winner when you're in charge ultimately of counting and receiving the votes. This is why people don't have any confidence in the elections, because you got the guy who's in charge declared one guy the winner. But to do it from the office is like he is just either that stupid, or he just took a giant middle finger and said, here you go, people of Indiana, you eat this.
This is why staff is so very important. You look at President Biden with his basement or his rose garden strategy he's going to do in 2024. It's because the staff doesn't trust him on the podium and on the mic. And so you've got to have stellar staff that if you're a busy public servant, that they know the rules and they direct you, because you're so focused on the job itself. And it's just really a shame to get up there and do something like this, because everybody that's in government, everybody that's elected should understand, and even if you're a staffer, you've got to understand that politics and policy, politics and government, there's a fine line there, and you just can't cross it.
Jim Merritt's our guest. You're a Hamilton County guy these days.
I am.
Indianapolis through and through, and even got too bad for you. You said I got to get out of here. So Sparks, she
is my
rep.
member of Congress.
She is exhausting. Victoria Sparks is exhausting, and that's coming from me, which is really saying something. You are one of her constituents.
I am.
The floor is yours to comment on this issue, because I fathom how anybody could vote for her after she just lied to everybody for a year about running again.
Well, first of all, it's untoward to tell everybody that you want to go home, that you want to be with your family, and you want to kind of melt back into society, that she'd done her public service. And when you look at her time in Congress, number one, 435. I'm not sure why anybody would run for this, because you're waiting to wait. There are 4 or 5 people in Washington that make all the decisions. And now that it's really tight, one person can make the decision that is earth moving in the way of policy. But still, you're really, as a member of Congress, you're taking care of your constituents. And I don't think she's had a piece of legislation bubble to the surface that has become law. I'm just not sure what she's been doing for the last 4 years. And to come out and say, I'm not going to do it, then wait to the deadline where people have committed their lives, that they're spending their own money, that are campaigning for your office, and say, I didn't mean it.
Yeah, it's really rude to the other people, whether it's Goodrich or Raju or the Engling guy. I mean, there's a whole bunch of people that are running out there. And for you to make that proclamation, and then not only did she make the proclamation, I mean, she was like pondering quitting in the middle of the session last year.
I don't know if these are her words, but she hated it.
Oh, yeah.
And she thought that was...
She was on with Tony last year during the whole McCarthy thing. And
Right. And, she's had staff turnover, and we just haven't. And Ukraine is an enormous issue in Washington, and she's from there. And so, I think she's kind of missed the opportunity for her to make a real impact in Washington. And now you have Scott Fadness, who is the mayor of Fishers. You've got Chris Jensen, the mayor of Noblesville, coming out against her in support of Goodrich. And who's put a lot of his own treasure into the race. And it's so interesting that she has done this. And mayors don't do this where they support a primary insurgent now.
Yeah.
Because whoever your member of Congress is, if you're a small time, these are big city mayors now, but suburban mayors are coming out against the sitting incumbent congressperson. That's a real big deal.
All right, we got about 45 minutes from now, I guess. Suzanne Crouch is going to be here.
Yes.
And I've said this many, many times. I worked very briefly, through no fault of either one of ours, under Suzanne Crouch when she was a state auditor.
Mm-hmm.
And I always found her to be very nice. Mm-hmm. I've always thought very highly of her personally. She is so joined at the hip with Holcomb.
Right.
That politically, I'm going to be fascinated what she has to say.
Right.
And we give her full credit for coming in to answer these questions. She knows we're going to be firm but fair. But how does she thread the needle? Because if there's an audience, there is no audience that loathes Holcomb more than our audience. Well, and I think she knows she's got to address this. How do you balance being this guy's lieutenant governor and being totally silent for 7 years? And I don't know how she can do it.
Let's fill in the blanks here. When she was getting ready to run for governor, she had countless announcements of support from the legislature. Individual legislators were supporting her, and to a person, they all love her. And
she's very likable in person.
Of course, but also you have Governor Holcomb, who didn't put her on the yard signs when they're running.
Ask her about that.
When they're running together. But number two, that with the State of the State speech every year, in the last 2 years, the governor has interrupted his remarks and allowed the lieutenant governor to speak on the issue of her day of mental health, and she's been a good leader on that. And so I've never seen that before, where a governor has given up the limelight for 5 minutes for his lieutenant governor to speak on this issue. And so what this is boiling down to is you've got the legislative support. You've had positive feelings about the governor, your running partner for the last couple of years, and now you've got this FSSA problem that is her administration, because she's a part of the Holcomb administration, and you've got a real problem with caregiving. You know, they missed the comma $1 billion with the FSSA Medicaid issue, and you've got all this swirling, and I'm not describing it well enough. But then all of a sudden this week, she says that she's with the caregivers. She wants an audit of FSA, and ladies and gentlemen, all the state government ought to be audited whenever a governor leaves office, so the next governor can do it.
What are the odds? We got to get out of here, but I want to get, what are the odds? It's coming up here, and this is going to be incredible radio. There'll be a gajillion, every radio in the state house, anybody remotely connected is going to be listening to this. What are the odds she throws Holcomb under the bus when she comes in? There's no way she can come in with our audience and say, yeah, Holcomb's great. He did a great job.
Yeah, and I did a terrible job of describing the problem.
We'll have you back. It's fine.
But the problem is she has to choose a horse. She's got to ride one of the. Are you from the outside or are you from the inside? This is why I thought Senator Braun should leave Congress and leave the Senate and run for governor. And she's got to pick if she's a part of the Holcomb administration or is she not.
Yeah. And
you know, the voter right now does not want to be confused.
Yeah, we'll be firm but fair. She knows that, and it's coming up at 10:30. Hey, find you on Twitter at Jim_Merritt. You got the very fabulous Merritt in the Morning podcast from Cafe Audrey. You can find that on Facebook and YouTube. Jim Merritt, you're the best. Thank you.
Thank you.
93 WIBC. It's Kendall and Casey Show.
Rob, Kendall, quick question for you.
Yes.
Have you saved more than $200,000 for retirement?
I can't even begin to calculate the amount of money I've saved for retirement, Casey.
So much money.
Oh,
well, you know, this could be an IRA, a 401k, or just your regular savings. Now, here's the real question. You want this money to work for you?
Absolutely.
Of course you do, without taking a lot of risk. Now, what if you could take this money and get an upfront 13% bonus and get a competitive return that's averaged 7% a year for the past 10 years?
Yeah, that sounds pretty good, Casey. And I'll get all the details from who? Bill Demery, your retirement guy right here in Indy. He's my retirement guy, and he should be your retirement guy, too. Call Bill, 317-932-9912. Discover how you could get an upfront 13% bonus and earn a competitive return that's averaged 7% a year for the last 10 years.
It's all backed by one of the largest insurance companies in the world, and this offer's not going to last long. So call Bill now, 317-932-9912, 317-932-9912.
Past performance, no guarantee of future returns.
Coming up on Tony Katz today, the Supreme Court will hear the case about Trump on the ballot in Colorado. And I hope they rule quickly. That's after the news at noon on 93 WIBC.
People who suffer from arthritis are getting real pain relief with exciting biologic therapies at QC Kinetics.
The success rate is there, and there's no better way to treat yourself when it comes to dealing with pain.
Meet Tyler Vale, co-founder of QC Kinetics, who says they can't cure arthritis, but they can treat the pain.
If you think of the tide coming in and out on the beach and what it does, it erodes the sand, right? Can't stop the tide, but eventually when the sand or the beach gets bad enough, when we backfill that beach with sand so that we get generations of enjoyment with that beach again. And the same thing happens with your knee or your shoulder or your hip or your back. We want to backfill the problems that have happened to this point. I'm not stopping the tide, so I'm not stopping the arthritis, but I want to get generations of enjoyment out of those joints again.
Call QC Kinetics now for your free consultation. Learn more about how restorative biologic therapies can get you real and lasting joint pain relief.
Call QC Kinetics, 317-559-PAIN. That's 317-559-PAIN. 317-559-PAIN.
Discovery, innovation, progress. It all starts right here at IU Indianapolis. We're making cutting-edge discoveries in science, technology, and healthcare. We're investing in Indiana's future with degrees that make a difference. We're partnering with local businesses to drive our city forward, and we're just getting started. See where we're going at indianapolis.iu.edu/start.
Nothing says I love you like romantic, timeless jewelry. Even better when you can save an extra 20%. Right now at Diamonds Direct, all fashion favorite jewelry is 20% off. That's earrings, bracelets, pendants, bands, colored gemstone jewelry. Get 20% off Diamonds Direct's already unbeatable prices. Special financing too. Get her something she can enjoy and appreciate for years to come. A fashion favorite from Diamonds Direct. Shop in-store or online at diamondsdirect.com. Diamonds Direct. Your love, our passion.
Garage door problems? Call today for service today. Garage Doors of Indianapolis has been solving garage door problems for 33 years. Call today for service today. 875-4577. Garage Doors of Indianapolis services all makes of garage doors 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Call today for service today. Get it fixed right now. Call Garage Doors of Indianapolis at 875-4577 or visit doorstoday.com.
In the morning, call 875-4577. Today.
Good morning. It is 11 minutes in front of 10. You're listening to Kendall and Casey on 93 WIBC.
You realize we literally could make the governor's race today? Do you realize the power and the pressure that comes with being us?
We're so charismatic.
I mean,
you have that
think
potential.
about the amount of people who have contacted me who have said we are just waiting on the edge of our seats to see how this interview is going to go. And really it is. I mean, it's a huge interview for Suzanne Crouch coming up at 10:30 because it is going to be, I mean, you have worked alongside somebody for 7 years.
Yeah.
And I think most people have known privately she vehemently has disagreed with a lot of things Holcomb has done. But when you don't speak out publicly about it, how do you now run against that? Because we all know, as Brad Chambers, despite having a gajillion dollars, is finding out that if you align yourself with Holcomb, you're DOA, you're dead on arrival. Brad Chambers could spend $100 million, and he has as much chance of being governor as you and I do, because everybody knows he's Holcomb's errand boy.
I believe so far he spent 5.3.
Yeah, well, so we're not far off, right? And where is he? He's still at 5% in these polls or whatever, because everybody knows you were Holcomb's lapdog at the IEDC. Your job was to help Holcomb's World Economic Forum buddies. And so it doesn't matter what high-paid political consultants or whatever that you bring in, Brad Chambers. Everybody knows you are a continuation of Holcomb. I think Suzanne has the opportunity has built up more goodwill because she spent a lot of time in the legislature and people knew her. But I'm fascinated. It's rare somebody walks in here and I have no idea what they're going to say. And I have absolutely no idea.
No, I know what you're going to say. I mean, I know how you're going to get us into the interview.
Yeah.
And I can't wait to see what direction it takes.
It's like choose your own adventure. We have no idea what page we're going to turn to. So it's just a lot of pressure that we have in this. I think people take for granted what we do every day. Just like watching Michael Jordan. It just happened so often, and he was so good at it. People just think it's easy.
Yeah.
It's not easy to be us. It's not easy to be us, Casey.
Well, I have complete faith in you, but again...
Not yourself?
Well, no, I mean, hey, as I mentioned yesterday when Hammer was in the studio, I come prepared. I have my list of questions, but the interview will really depend on some of her very first answers.
Yeah. It's going to be very interesting.
The direction that it goes.
And here's the thing. She is clearly, there are multiple polls that show she is clearly the number one alternative right now to Braun. And all the polls that have gone out almost are identical. And she's right now a distant second, but she is the alternative to Braun. And a huge hang up with a lot of people because Suzanne is super likable in person. She's very, very nice. But it is that stench of being connected to lock down McGee.
Yeah.
And this is her best chance to separate that, and we'll see how she does it. It's going to be great.
I hope she answers the way I want
It's going to be great.
So we'll see. Hey, let's talk about, I mentioned earlier that Alejandro Mayorkas, he's the DHS secretary, and he was up for impeachment earlier this week. It didn't happen. But he's been out in Las Vegas. He's there to go over safety and security measures for the Super Bowl. And while he was there, they had a little discussion, and a reporter asked him about the failed impeachment vote and whether he had planned to step down if, in fact, the vote succeeded. And what do you think his answer was?
No.
You got it. He said nope.
It's Matt Finn with Fox News. I respect the collaboration and preparedness that we are discussing here to keep us all safe this weekend. My question is for Mr. Mayorkas. How do you feel this morning after narrowly avoiding impeachment yesterday?
I've answered this question before. I'll gladly answer it again. The allegations are baseless, and I'm focused on the work, which was what brings me to Las Vegas today.
Republicans have indicated they may hold another vote, and they might have the numbers at that point to impeach you. If that happened, would you consider stepping aside?
No, I would not.
Now, here's the interesting thing.
Why would he?
Well, sure.
What do you think? Schumer's gonna convict him in the Senate?
The interesting thing is that he went on to say that he was privileged to provide technical and operational expertise to the bipartisan group of senators that were working on that legislation. So at the same time, simultaneously, you've got the House saying, we want to impeach this guy. And then that's the guy that Schumer and McConnell were talking to craft the, air quotes, border bill.
I still can't figure out how McConnell and Duke of Spendingburg and those guys are weaseling out and voting no on this when they were the ones cheerleading for the bill itself. And now they're trying to act like, oh, we're so disappointed that this was the bill that we got. That's the bill you people negotiated.
Right. We have nothing to do with that. Don't look over here. It's interesting.
These people's ability to look you in the eye and lie to you is, I mean, it is both maddening and impressive at the same time.
All right, so stuff is happening with Tucker Carlson, and we're going to talk about that coming up from 93 WIBC.
If you're facing $10,000, $20,000, or even $30,000 or more in credit card debt, medical bills, or other unsecured debt, there are programs available that can consolidate those debts into one single reduced monthly payment you can afford if you qualify. Accredited Debt Relief is on a mission to help you become debt-free in just 24 to 48 months. They've helped over 300,000 qualified consumers. Hardworking Americans just like you pay off more than $3 billion in debt, earning them an A+ rating from the Better Business Bureau. Accredited Debt Relief will tailor the program to fit your specific budget and financial situation. So call Accredited Debt Relief now for your free no-obligation savings estimate and let them help you take control of your financial destiny.
Call 800-530-3939. 800-530-3939. That's 800-530-3939. 800-530-3939. Program and services not available in all states.
Our country is being invaded. Thousands pour across the southern border every day, bringing fentanyl and violence. Who's to blame? Career politicians like Jim Banks. As a member of Congress, Jim Banks said that Indiana needed an influx of immigration. Jim Banks campaigned with political insiders like Paul Ryan and is endorsed by Mitch McConnell, who sabotaged the building of Trump's border wall. Jim Banks has betrayed Indiana on the border.
I'm John Rust, and I'm running to be your next United States Senator. I am a farmer, businessman, and political outsider. My opponent, Jim Banks, talks a big game about border security. Don't be fooled. Since Jim Banks said he wanted an influx of immigrants, we've seen over 8 million illegals pour into our nation. Jim Banks got his wish. Hoosiers don't want a senator who speaks out of both sides of his mouth, and America can't afford it. I'm John Rust. I approve this message because I will make sure Trump's border wall actually gets built from the Gulf of Mexico to the Pacific Ocean.
Paid for by John Rust for U.S. Senate.
Barry Manilow. Looks like we made it. The last Indianapolis concert. Barry Manilow. See him performing all the hits for one night only. Barry Manilow at Gainbridge Fieldhouse, Friday, July 26th. Get tickets now at Ticketmaster.com. Life insurance. Why are you putting it off? Can't afford it? Too much hassle? Think you don't need it? There's lots of excuses for putting off life insurance. But if you weren't there, who would pay the mortgage and other bills? With Ethos, you could be covered in 10 minutes and boom, family protected. Ethos, fast and easy online term life insurance. Up to $2 million in coverage with no medical exam. Some policies as low as $1 a day. Answer a few health questions and get your free quote at getethos.com. That's getethos.com.
Valentine's Day is around the corner, and that means PA Jewelers inside Premier Arms in Brownsburg. Now through Valentine's Day, or while supplies last, buy any jewelry or watch from PA Jewelers and walk out with a free gift box of Valentine's candy from the Fudge Kettle Chocolates. Get and give 2 gifts for 1 at PA Jewelers and support 2 local businesses. Your Valentine will love both gifts and never know you got such a great deal. 3754 South Green Street in Brownsburg. 317-858-3030 or online at premierarms.com.
The new year is here. Time for change. Start a recession-resistant new career in the high-demand fields of IT, cybersecurity, and AI with My Computer Career in just months. Already in IT? Build your cybersecurity skills and prep for thousands of open positions employers nationwide are desperate to fill. Attend classes live online or on campus. Make this your year. Go to mycomputercareer.edu and take the free career evaluation today. That's mycomputercareer.edu. Financial aid is available to those who qualify, including the GI Bill.
Still thinking about what to get her for Valentine's Day? Make that special occasion last forever and surprise her with a gift from Pierce Jewelers in Carmel. Shop local, shop smart, shop Pierce Jewelers.
Coming up in 2 minutes, where lawmakers are on the Medicaid shortfall, plus what Richard Allen's lawyers are asking in the Delphi murders case. Donnie Burgess reports. That and more coming up from the Technology Recyclers studios after Fox News Radio at the top of the hour. I'm Kirk Darling. You're listening to 93 WIBC, WIBC HD1 Indianapolis. It's 10 o'clock.
It's a case that could help decide the 2024 election. I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News, and the Supreme Court will hear at this hour whether former President Trump can be on the ballot or if Colorado or maybe other states are allowed to remove him, claiming he incited the 2021 Capitol riot.
What qualifies as an insurrection or taking part in one? And does the 14th Amendment's insurrection clause apply to the president? Those are all questions facing Supreme Court justices today in historic arguments here over a never-before-tested provision of the Constitution. The court agreed to fast-track this case after Colorado's Supreme Court ruled former President Trump did engage in an insurrection and is disqualified from the state's primary ballot at the Supreme Court. Jared Halpern, Fox News.
A Trump victory is looming in today's Nevada caucuses. Only the former president and long-shot challenger Ryan Binkley can be considered. Nikki Haley refused to pay to take part, calling it rigged, opting to be in Tuesday's Republican primary that didn't count, that she lost to a none-of-the-above option. 5 missing U.S. Marines are confirmed dead this morning.
They disappeared Tuesday while flying back from Nevada during the historic storm that slammed California with heavy snow and record rain. Search teams located the Marines' heavy lift helicopter known as a Super Stallion yesterday in Pine Valley.
Fox's Carmen Roberts. Secretary of State Antony Blinken is on his way back to the U.S. after attempts at a new ceasefire fizzled. Israel called Hamas's proposal delusional. The Senate may vote today on a bill to provide billions of dollars in military aid to Israel and Ukraine, which keeps battling Russian President Putin's invasion. Democratic Senator Michael Bennet tells Fox.
If we fail to support them, Putin's just going to continue this war. He's going to impose his will on the Ukrainian people.
Democrats are angry Republicans blocked a bigger bill attaching border security provisions aimed at stopping record illegal immigration, but Republicans called it a bad bill. America's listening to Fox News.
93 WIBC Mobile News. On the level, on the go.
So far, little progress. Radar is clear, mostly cloudy and 50 degrees downtown. I'm Kirk Darling. Here's what's trending at 10:02. Lawmakers appear to have no fix at the moment for the billion-dollar FSSA shortfall, despite calls from the Lieutenant Governor, Suzanne Crouch, for an audit.
I don't quite understand the purpose of an audit. Keep in mind a couple of things. The $984 million is not $984 million lost dollars. This is a forecasting error.
State Senate President Pro Tem Rod Bray says that that using cash reserves to fill that gap wouldn't work either, saying that it would not solve the actual problem. The legal team for Delphi murder suspect Richard Allen want all his charges dismissed.
That's based on evidence they say was deleted by police. I'm Donnie Burgess. Specifically, 2 interviews conducted within days of Abigail Williams and Liberty German's murders. 2 men are accused of being Odinists, and Allen's team says those interviews would have proven Allen's innocence. They want a day in in court to prove their case. Donnie Burgess, 93 WIBC Mobile News.
Last week's Whiting BP refinery outage is still having an impact on what you're paying at the pump. Gas Buddy experts expecting another jump in gas prices soon on top of the most recent increase. They say gas could be back near the 340s by the weekend. Nikki Haley has filed her signatures to appear on the presidential primary ballot in Indiana. She got the minimum 500 signatures in each congressional district to be on the ballot. A border security bill failed in the Senate Wednesday, and Indiana Senator Mike Braun says Democrats are too focused on sending money to other countries instead of the southern border.
I've always been one for do them separately so you can have the pros and cons on each one, meaning Taiwan, Israel, and Ukraine.
Braun telling WIBC's Hammer and Nigel that you would end up paying for any aid sent to those countries. $200 million. That's the new record for donations given to DePaul University in Greencastle. School president Lori White says that the donation was anonymous and that the funds will go toward the university's creative school. I'm Kirk Darling. On the Level, on the go, and on WIBC.com.
With help from Indiana Pathways for Aging, I'm managing my health challenges right here at home, exactly where I want to be. My husband's Parkinson's is progressing, but we're determined to stay together like we have for more than 40 years. And with Pathways, we're getting the support we need to make that happen.
Mom may not be able to walk like she used to, but with transportation, help making meals, and personal care through Pathways, she's getting all the care she needs right in her neighborhood. And I have peace of mind.
If you're a Hoosier Medicaid member age 60 or older, Pathways, a new program from the Indiana Family and Social Services Administration, can help you get care your way, to live life your way. The program begins in summer of 2024. To learn more, call 87 Pathway 4 or visit in.gov/pathways.
This hour on 93 WIBC is powered by Pierce Jewelers, Carmel's Diamond Engagement Ring Store.
You're listening to Rob Kendall.
When we talk about sending money somewhere, we're talking about printing the money because we have no money.
And Casey Daniels.
My government would never lie to me, would they?
On 93 WIBC.
Good morning. It is Thursday, February 8th. It is 5 minutes after 10. You're listening to Kendall and Casey on 93 WIBC. Coming up later this hour at 10:30, we've got Lieutenant Governor Suzanne Crouch who's going to join us, and we'll see what she has to say as she is campaigning to be the governor of the great state of Indiana.
What a wild and wacky next couple days we've got on this show. We got Suzanne coming up at 10:30. We got Doden tomorrow.
Yeah.
And he's going to blast the governor over the leap stuff, which is great. You know, it's so funny.
Tell us how you really feel.
That was so great when that happened because he had come out with that, Doden came out with that anti-IEDC ad, and I had said on the air, we were just kind of, it's the power of this show, Casey. I just jokingly said, look, we've had a lot of problems with you guys, Doden, but I think we always are willing to move somebody right to the front of the line if they say something bad about Holcomb. And within like an hour, I got a phone call from his campaign
Were you
manager.
serious about that?
So I said, sure, we can be friends on that for a day. So he'll be here tomorrow to talk about, and if anybody knows how screwed up IEDC is and this LEAP thing, it would be Doden because he ran the thing under Pence. And then Monday, we've got just a really feel-good story of Indiana politics. Jamie Rittenauer with literally raised $17,000, and she got those signatures to be able to run for governor. And so we interviewed her a month and a half, 2 months ago, and she did it. And so she'll be with us Monday. So next 3 days, 3 of the 6 candidates for governor.
Sounds good. 7 minutes after 10, it's Kendall and Casey on 93 WIBC. So earlier in the week, Tucker Carlson announced on X that he will be interviewing Vladimir Putin.
Yeah.
And that's going to drop this evening at 6 o'clock. I'm sure many people will be very interested in this. And now it has come out, some outlets are reporting that he could face sanctions and that he is assisting a war criminal. And now he's going to be Putin's mouthpiece. And also EU politicians could look to impose a travel ban on him following this controversial interview.
He's going to do an interview.
Mhm.
He's not conspiring with the Russian military. He's not spying, on the homeland and giving secret information to Putin. He's going to do an interview. And again, this is another example of when everybody piles on about even information getting out. It should be a giant red flag to everyone about why are all of these people so concerned with you simply being able to hear someone speak.
Yeah. So now a lot of people are trying to discredit him, saying that he's got a lot of audacity to even try to interview Putin. Keep in mind that George Stephanopoulos did that. Barbara Walters has done it. Megyn Kelly has done it previously.
He runs Russia, Casey. He should totally be heard from.
Many people have previously interviewed the guy, but the second that Tucker Carlson does it, now we have an issue. And Chris Cuomo, he came out and he said that Tucker Carlson is cheapening the standard of journalism for doing this. He also said, don't compare Tucker to Barbara Walters.
Tucker Carlson is getting exactly what he wants: attention. He's in Russia interviewing Vladimir Putin. Now, frankly, I don't care. His explanation of why he's doing it, that he's a journalist and he needs to inform people, he can call himself whatever he wants. I think his work is demonstrable as not being just about giving people information. He has a point of view, and often it's not aligned with the facts. Megyn Kelly, also a pundit from the right, interviewed Putin in 2018 and got beat up by almost everybody in what was the first criticism that kind of led to her failing at the network level. Why? Because that's not what these people are. That's what Barbara Walters was.
So Putin has really limited his contact with any international media since he launched that invasion of Ukraine in 2022. But when we have people like Mitch McConnell saying that sending money to Ukraine is the top priority, yeah, let's keep the dialogue open with the other guy and see why he did what he did. What are his intentions? Will this ever end, or are we just to keep sending money over there fighting him?
The ability to keep people uninformed and the brazen nature of the ability to keep people uninformed in a coordinated worldwide, Casey, literally worldwide collaboration to deny people access to the other side of the story. Maybe Putin's totally full of it. Probably is. Guy made his money and got his power lying and scamming and scheming. But my goodness, the unwillingness to not hear from the other side is just incredibly disturbing.
You're listening to Kendall and Casey on 93 WIBC. Good morning.
Casey, you are beyond wealthy, but I bet you would like to be even more wealthy.
I wish that were true, but yes, I would.
And wouldn't you like to make your infinite amount of money that you have under your mattress work for you?
I would, without taking a lot of risk, too.
Absolutely. And with all this money that you have, you could get an upfront 13% bonus and get a competitive return that's averaged 7% a year for the past 10 years. Sounds pretty good, doesn't it?
It does, and I'm sure all the details are available from Bill Demery, right? He's my retirement guy. He's your retirement guy. He should be everybody's retirement guy. And you can call him at 317-932-9912. Discover how you can get an upfront 13% bonus and earn a competitive return that's averaged 7% a year for the past 10 years. Plus, it's all backed by one of the largest insurance companies in the world. But you know what? This offer's not going to last long. So call Bill now. 317-932-9912. 317-932-9912.
Past performance is no guarantee of future returns.
Franciscan Health has been your hometown leader in heart care for decades. Recognized in 2024 by Healthgrades as the #1 hospital in Indiana for cardiology and by CareChex as #1 in Indiana for major cardiac surgery and interventional coronary care, we're proud to keep the hearts of our community beating strong. Franciscan Health, where our greatest reward has always been serving you. Take a heart risk assessment or schedule an appointment at franciscanhealth.org/heartcare.
At First Financial Bank, we have 5% APY on money market accounts and high rates on CDs. It's easy. Just stop into your local First Financial Bank to open your account, and we'll do the rest. What are you waiting for? Start growing your money today. APY equals annual percentage yield. $25,000 minimum deposit required for money market. Offer ends March 2nd, 2024. Terms and conditions apply. Visit bank@first.com for details.
First! Why choose a Sleep Number smart bed? Because no two people sleep the same. Only the Sleep Number smart bed lets you each choose your individual firmness and comfort, your Sleep Number setting. The Climate 360 smart bed is so smart it actively cools or warms up to 13 degrees on either side for your ideal sleep temperature. And now, during our President's Day sale, save 50% on the Sleep Number limited edition smart bed, plus free home delivery when you add an adjustable base. Ends Monday. To find a store near you, visit sleepnumber.com.
That moment when you realize your furnace is stone cold busted. We're talking a real put on every sweater you own, I can't feel my feet, penguin predicament. But fear not, there's an expert for that.
Right now, get a furnace for free when you purchase an air conditioner from Broad Ripple Service Experts.
Like it toasty? There's an expert for that.
Call Broad Ripple Service Experts at 866-EXPERTS. See website for license details.
Indiana Pathways for Aging helps Hoosier Medicaid members age 60 and over get support at no additional cost to live life their way.
Mom's Parkinson's is progressing, and Pathways provides in-home support so she can be with family every day.
Pathways coordinates Medicaid and Medicare services. I'm getting help with meals, personal care, and transportation.
One day, I might choose a nursing home, but today, I have options with Pathways.
The program begins in summer of 2024. Call 87-PATHWAY-4 or visit in.gov/pathways.
Hi, this is Jiffy Lube owner Steve Sanner. Jiffy Lube is a one-stop shop for all your car's maintenance needs to operate safely and efficiently. At Jiffy Lube, we believe knowledge is power. Our Jiffy Lube teams don't do repair work, but our focus is on becoming your go-to guys for all your manufacturer's recommended maintenance. So while we are still the fastest team in town, cars and trucks need a lot more than oil changes. Tires need to be rotated, wipers, belts, lights, and filters wear out, brake parts need to be replaced. Why make yourself deal with 2 or 3 different shops just to take proper care of your car? It's way easier to join the million Hoosiers every year who drive into Jiffy Lube and drive out with the peace of mind that their car is safe and working well. We are a one-stop shop for all the maintenance your car will ever need.
The go-to guys for all your car's recommended maintenance needs. Jiffy Lube.
Denise has been playing jazz for 40 years. Last concert, one of the musicians fell sick with RSV. Respiratory syncytial virus, or RSV, is a highly contagious virus that can lead to breathing problems. This time, she's choosing to help protect herself with Pfizer's RSV vaccine, Abrysvo. Abrysvo is a vaccine for the prevention of lower respiratory tract disease caused by respiratory syncytial virus, RSV, in adults 60 years of age and older. Abrysvo is not for everyone and may not protect all who receive the vaccine. Don't get Abrysvo if you've had a severe allergic reaction to its ingredients. People with a weakened immune system may have a decreased response to Abrysvo. The most common side effects are tiredness, headache, pain at the injection site, and muscle pain. Ask your pharmacist or doctor about Pfizer's RSV vaccine, Abrysvo, respiratory syncytial virus vaccine. For full prescribing information, please call 1-844-989-7284 or visit abrysvo.com. Brought to you by Pfizer.
If you're facing $10,000, $20,000, or even $30,000 or more in credit card debt, medical bills, or other unsecured debt, there are programs available that can consolidate those debts into one single reduced monthly payment you can afford if you qualify. Accredited Debt Relief is on a mission to help you become debt-free in just 24 to 48 months. They've helped over 300,000 qualified consumers. Hardworking Americans just like you pay off more than $3 billion in debt, earning them an A+ rating from the Better Business Bureau. Accredited Debt Relief will tailor the program to fit your specific budget and financial situation. So call Accredited Debt Relief now for your free no-obligation savings estimate and let them help you take control of your financial destiny.
Call 800-530-3939. 800-530-3939. That's 800-530-3939. 800-530-3939. Program and services not available in all states. Do you find yourself stuck in a timeshare? Get the real facts about the timeshare industry and your options for cancellation. Chuck McDowell, founder of Wesley Financial Group, has put together a free information guide that reveals the secrets the timeshare industry doesn't want you to know, including the 5 ways to get rid of your timeshare. Call now and get this timeshare information guide absolutely free. Call 800-919-3200. That's 800-919-3200. 800-919-3200.
18 minutes after 10, it's Kendall and Casey on 93 WIBC. So candidates for statewide elected office, they have to disclose what they own, whether it be in property or stocks, businesses, whatever it is. They have to let you know by February 1st or before they turn in documents declaring their candidacy. So I thought this might be somewhat of a fun game. You give me the candidate and I'll tell you what they own.
Okay, so
you get to pick.
So I'm going to go from richest to what I think is probably least rich. How about that?
Okay.
The richest one I would say has got to be Brad Chambers.
Okay. So let's see. Brad Chambers, obviously, he was recently involved in the EIDC. He's got a long list of financial interests. And he has a real estate investment firm, which he founded, Buckingham Companies. And he reported interests in 63 properties scattered across 10 states, including Indiana.
63. So it's not like, I got this full-time job and I got a little rental down the street for me that I, do for extra. 63 properties.
We're not done there. He also recorded involvement in 279 different partnerships, mostly.
How many?
279, most all of them related to real estate. He has stocks or options in 79 different corporations. And
just hang on for just a second. The information you have provided, how would any person possibly think that guy, when he makes choices, would care about you at all?
But he's an outsider. He has stocks or options in 79 corporations, and they range from BlackRock to Eli Lilly, also Peloton and Coca-Cola.
Okay, so isn't this wild that the IDC was heavily involved in Lilly getting this sweetheart deal out of what will be, the LEAP district out there? Chambers is the head of IDC. IDC oversees that, and then it comes out that he's got stock in Lilly.
He does.
Wow, amazing how that happens, isn't it, Casey? It's no different than, and this will tie into, our next conversation. During the pandemic, what was allowed to stay open? Liquor stores. Who owned part of 30-plus liquor stores? Kyle Hupfer, the state party chairman. These guys are all Hupfer, Holcomb, Chambers. This is how could anybody vote for this guy? How could anybody vote for this guy and think he is possibly not totally compromised from the moment he walks in the governor's mansion?
Okay, who do you got next?
Let's go second. Braun is more interesting than Doden because Doden got his through his family money. I think Braun is more interesting.
Okay. Mike Braun reported that he owns a farm and timberland in 8 counties.
Timberland. It's not like I own a couple acres. I own timberland.
And he has involvement in a farming company called Maple Land LLC. And let's see, he reported to having at least $10,000 in stock or stock options in his former employer, which is Meyer Distributing and Meyer Logistics.
He owned it. What do you mean it's former employer? That was he owned the place. What do you mean former employer?
He and his wife also hold stock in 4 different banks: Freedom Bank, German American Bank, JP Morgan Bank, and Springs Valley Bank and Trust.
Former employer. You were your former employer.
Well, I'm sure he listed himself as an employee.
Okay. I would be very curious. Okay, so Doden is the other super rich guy running, so let's hear what he's got.
Okay, he reported to owning a condo unit in downtown Indianapolis, and he noted that he worked for Demo Ventures, which is a real estate development company that he co-founded. He also said he operated 2 sole proprietorships or professional practices, Pago USA and Sign Development Company. He also listed some more real estate-related partnerships with Domo Development, Domo Ventures, Maumee Development, and Cumberland.
So development, I wonder, is that real estate development? So see, again, giant red flag to everyone, which is all of these people have, it appears, their hands in real estate, which depends on what? The development of stuff, right? I mean, it's come on.
Now, they also have to report their spouse, and Doden's wife owns stock and options in Alphabet, Apple, Berkshire Hathaway, Charles Schwab, JP Morgan, Microsoft, Nike, Tesla, and United Health Group.
Okay, I would guess, based on economic realities, that Jamie Rittenauer would be the least wealthy of the 6 people who have turned in the signatures to run for governor on the Republican side.
Okay, she reported that she has no properties and no stocks. And she does say, however, that her husband, he has a partnership in a publishing company, Promise Books.
So think about what she would walk in with, which is no ties or obligations or IOUs to anyone, and then compare those to the first 3 that we named off, where it's land, it's a timberland, it's developments, it's condos. I mean, again, these ads, I'm a regular guy. I care about you. I'm an outsider. Right. Sure you are. Obviously, we're going to interview... now, I would guess Curtis Hill is not overly wealthy either, because he was a prosecutor before he was attorney general. I would guess he is not overly wealthy either.
He reported no interests in property, partnerships, or stocks. He noted his work for Maverick Consulting and, of course, his own legal practice.
Yeah, okay, that would be right. And then the last one would be who we're going to interview coming up next, Suzanne Crouch. I would guess her husband, I think her husband was a lawyer, so I think he was pretty successful, but I would guess she's largely been in the public sector.
Yep.
I would guess she's great at raising other people's money, but I would guess she is not overly wealthy.
She reported to having no interests in property, businesses, or partnerships. She does hold stock or options in Amazon, which is the Google parent company Alphabet, and also tobacco company Philip Morris.
Okay. All right. So I was pretty much right. Like from, kind of start to finish, I got pretty much most of those correct based on the people and how they might have interest other than my own.
Yep.
If they were to become governor of the state of Indiana.
You got it. Okay, so we do have Suzanne Crouch, who is going to be joining us, and we've earmarked a lot of time to talk with her. But before she comes in, I thought it would be nice to review her latest campaign ad.
Okay.
And this is it.
I'm Lieutenant Governor Suzanne Crouch. You probably know me for leading the fight to axe the state income tax, or the conservative who made a critical pro-life vote and helped make Indiana one of the most pro-life states, or the Secretary of Agriculture who's playing hardball to prevent China from acquiring critical Indiana land. And as governor, you'll know me for making sure fentanyl dealers who kill Hoosiers get punished for the murderers they are.
Suzanne Crouch, conservative, tax fighter, governor.
She says, when I saw China eyeing land near Indiana military sites, I didn't just expose it, I stopped it. I won't back down in the fight to protect Hoosier land, lives, and families.
All right, let's take a break. We'll have the news, and then when we come back, Suzanne Crouch will be here. This is going to be a really great and very interesting conversation when we come back.
It's 93 WIBC.
Your health is about so much more than your medical needs. So shouldn't your health plan be too? If you qualify for Medicare and Medicaid, a Humana Medicare Advantage dual eligible special needs plan could help you buy essentials you need. Get $3,000 a year for eligible groceries, rent, utilities, and more. Plus, whatever you don't spend rolls over to the next month. You'll even get benefits like $0 copays on routine prescriptions, plus routine dental, vision, and hearing coverage. Get peace of mind with a Medicare plan that is there for the big moments and every moment in between. Learn more at gethumana.com. Humana, a more human way to healthcare. Humana is a coordinated care plan with a Medicare contract and a contract with the Indiana Medicaid program. Enrollment in any Humana plan depends on contract renewal. Allowance amounts cannot be combined with other benefit allowances. Limitations and restrictions may apply.
Fed rate cut plans have reduced mortgage rates more than a full point and dropping. If you've been waiting to sell, now is the time. Maximize your home sales price with the agent and team I recommend, Mark Deedle. Maybe you're worried about costly repairs or upgrades to sell your home. Mark Deedle guarantees your home sold at a mutually agreed upon price and deadline, or he will buy it. Listen to what Dan and Jen in Avon had to say about working with Mark Deedle. We were ready to downsize and move to a smaller dream home. There were many challenges to navigate, but luckily we had the Mark Dietel team on our side. They got our difficult-to-sell house sold at the price we needed, and they worked overtime to make what we wanted happen. They are truly the best. Call the agent I trust and recommend and the agent who guarantees your home sold, or he'll buy it. Call Mark Dietel, 317-755-4232 for all the details, or go online to markdietel.com. That's Mark, DIETEL.com.
Dads happen. There's a whole lot of stuff that can mess up the look of your vehicle. Don't paint your car. Go PDR with Kill a Dent Removal. PDR is paintless dent removal that saves your factory finish and is way less invasive than traditional body shop repairs. And it's faster too, sometimes same day. Google Kill a Dent Removal and check out the reviews and photos. Then schedule your repair. Hail baseballs, kids, fender benders, shopping carts, flying cows, angry X's, and anything else that leaves dents. Don't paint your car. Go PDR with Kill a Dent Removal.
Discovery, innovation, progress. It all starts right here at IU Indianapolis. We're making cutting-edge discoveries in science, technology, and healthcare. We're investing in Indiana's future with degrees that make a difference. We're partnering with local businesses to drive our city forward. And we're just getting started. See where we're going at indianapolis.iu.edu/start.
Discussing end-of-life matters can be uncomfortable, but it's also necessary to ensure that loved ones' wishes are well known ahead of time. This is Tina McIntosh, president of Joyous House and co-host of the Caregiver Crossing radio program. Up next, I'll share suggestions to help ease anxiety surrounding the talk.
Why Adult Day Services? Because no matter how much you love someone, there are times when you need a break and someone to help. Let Joyous House be that someone for you.
Direct, open, and honest conversation is the best way to discuss end-of-life wishes. Knowing your loved one's preferred treatments and desired arrangements will ready everyone for when the time comes. Also helpful, creating a will or trust to ensure assets are distributed accordingly. And consider an end-of-life doula to assist your family during the process. More tips like this are available anytime at caregivercrossingradio.org. With new weekly content created by Joyous House and distributed in partnership with Network Indiana, we're an on-air and online support group for Hoosier family caregivers. Hear conversations with experts, access a library of online education, and more at caregivercrossingradio.org.
Show your true love and spoil her with that one special Valentine's gift from Pierce Jewelers that will say, I love you. Remember, shop local, shop smart, shop Pierce Jewelers in Carmel.
Do you need furnace or heat pump service and need to find a local, well-trained expert you can trust, like Family Heating and Air Conditioning? We'll find that American Standard Air dealer at IndyHomeComfort.com.
93 WIBC Mobile News. On the level, on the go.
What will they decide? It's 53 and partly cloudy downtown. I'm Kirk Darling. Here's what's trending at 10:30. A busy day both inside and outside the Supreme Court in Washington. Fox's Ryan Schmelz.
That was an insurrection, and Trump called it. You know it.
Protesters outside the Supreme Court confronting Senators Roger Marshall and Tommy Tuberville as they spoke out against an effort to keep former President Trump's name off the Colorado primary ballot. The Supreme Court is hearing arguments today over whether the former president engaged in an insurrection on January 6 and whether that makes him ineligible to run for president based on the insurrection clause in the 14th Amendment. On Capitol Hill, Ryan Schmelz, Fox News.
That hearing just now getting underway. The 5 missing Marines who left a base near Las Vegas this week in a helicopter have been found dead. The military saying that their helicopter went down in Pine Valley, California as it was on its way to Miramar. It's not clear why the helicopter went down. I'm Kirk Darling, on the level, on the go, and on WIBC.com.
You're listening to the Kendall and Casey Show. 93 WIBC.
Good morning. It is 10:31. You're listening to Kendall and Casey on 93 WIBC.
And in studio, our very special guest. She was a former state auditor. She was a former state representative, now the lieutenant governor for the state of Indiana, currently running for governor, Suzanne Crouch. Hello.
Hello, Rob and Casey. And where's Tony? I thought it was on the Tony Katz show
what
today.
Everybody always asks.
And I'll tell you what I was listening to on the way over here.
You're the one.
Girls like to have fun.
Okay, so if you were to take a look at the past 7 years and the Holcomb administration and give it a letter grade, A, B, C, D, F, what would it be?
A.
Interesting. Why?
Because of the accomplishments that we have seen in so many areas that have benefited Hoosiers. You know, we have seen, and my agency, OKRA, as you know, oversees the expansion of broadband throughout Indiana. We made that a priority in 2019. We've invested $268 million connecting Hoosiers throughout Indiana. And as you know, Rob and Casey, the agencies I oversee, Secretary of Agriculture, Office of Community and Rural Affairs, the Indiana Destination Development Corporation, and the Indiana Housing Community Development Authority have a real thrust and emphasis on rural Indiana. And I believe that rural Indiana is our next great economic frontier. But in order to unlock the opportunity there, we have to have people connected. And we saw how important that was during COVID. So that is one of the reasons that I think that we should be given an A, is our ability to expand broadband throughout Indiana, giving that opportunity to Hoosiers in rural Indiana, but also because of, the economy and the way we have grown the economy here in Indiana with lower unemployment, with the ability to put Hoosiers into jobs throughout Indiana, extremely important, and improving and putting a focus on the quality of life.
So just to make sure we understand, you're okay on running on the Holcomb record. Like, you would look at Eric Holcomb's record and
I'm running Suzanne Crouch for governor.
Well, but you've been a big part of his administration. I mean, you've been the number two. So, I mean, you're saying I am okay with being judged based on the record of the Holcomb administration.
Well, as lieutenant governor, I'm going to claim the successes, but I also have to, be able to account for the not successes.
Yeah. Okay. So let's kind of, I think if you look at the state convention a couple years ago where Diego wins against Holly Sullivan, that was largely seen as a referendum on the governor. That's a bold position to take running in a Republican primary, because there's a lot of people who, I'm one of them, believe the governor has really failed people. Is there an area where you would look at, because you mentioned it, and say Holcomb didn't do a good job? Holcomb failed the citizens of the state of Indiana. Is there some place that stands out to you to say we could have done a lot better?
I believe we can't live in the past, Rob and Casey. We have to be accountable for it. We learn from mistakes, and then we move forward into the future. And so what I want to talk about is the future. Mm-hmm. But I will say that there were many private conversations that the governor and I had, and they're going to continue to stay private. And I didn't agree with him on every single issue.
But why? But why? You're a public servant. Why would those things stay private?
Because the same reason my conversations with my husband stay private, Rob. We don't agree on everything. And I know that you have conversations with people in your life that stay private. And so, there are many things that I didn't agree with the governor on.
Such as? Can you give us one?
The veto of the bill that, would not allow boys to be able to be in our girls' locker rooms and play on their sports teams.
Okay. So what about COVID? Because I think and I think you know this, you're very smart, you're very astute politically. There's a lot of people who are judging you based on Holcomb. A lot of those people at state convention who rejected Holly Sullivan and voted for Diego, they're lumping you into the same thing. And I think the behavior during COVID was really what turned a lot of people.
Sure.
Do you believe the governor handled, with the lockdowns, the mask mandates, the business closures, do you think Holcomb handled COVID well?
I believe that what we learn is our mistakes from the past, Rob, and I'm going to tell you this. Because of COVID, we've seen a 20% increase in anxiety and depression among the population. We've seen a 60% increase among young people. It's the second leading cause of death among young people is suicide. And my family, as you know, has struggled with that. I had a mother that struggled with anxiety and depression. My older brother died of alcoholism. My younger sister died by suicide in her early 20s. And our daughter, our only child, is 16 years sober and bipolar. I saw what COVID did to her and did to many other Hoosiers. And because of that, there can be no more mask mandates or lockdowns. And when I'm governor, there won't be, because we can't do that again because of what it has done to our population.
Okay, so I have a two-part question, and you're leading me right into it. As you mentioned, mental health is going to be a priority of yours, as 1 in 5 in Indiana suffer from issues. You have said that you want to be more creative and innovative in solving the problem. How?
Well, first of all, we don't have enough professionals in serving Hoosiers that are struggling with mental illness and addiction. And so we have to look at how do we attract more people to those professions. We have to look at loan forgiveness programs to get more young people in. But I think we also have to take the services to the people. And we have to recognize that technology is playing a bigger and bigger role in our lives, and it has to play a bigger and bigger role when it comes to giving services and getting people connected to those services that will help them. So that is one thing we have to do. I think we have to look at how do we get services to people where they are, not expect them to come to where the services are. And so there is a national program I've been a part of experiencing it, where we actually have barbers who will in neighborhoods be equipped with the information and the resources to be able to get help to those people that come to their shops, because they're the ones that are talking to them. I think we have to look at how we equip everyday Hoosiers. And then we have to look at our model of delivery, our model of service. Being able to make the changes and having peer coaches and peer counselors and be able to get assistance to people when they need it, maybe not necessarily to a therapist or psychiatrist immediately. We have to look at, when it comes to more psychiatrists, which were woefully unrepresented here in Indiana, let's look at having more psychiatric residencies to be able to attract them here.
Lieutenant Governor Suzanne Crouch is our guest. I want to go back to 2020, because again, I think this...
You like to live in the past. I'm looking to the future.
No, you guys did a lot of harm to a lot of people in 2020. And there's a lot of people whose businesses never recovered. There's a lot of people who were put out of work who have still not gained that level of income. And there's not a single solitary thing that the governor can point to prove that anything he did kept one person alive. And so I'm asking the questions that we hear every single day, which is the people want to be assured that they're never going to be denied the ability to earn a living ever again, that they're never going to see their businesses close, that they're never going to be tried to be put in jail for not wearing a mask. We have to review what happened with this administration, because, Suzanne, you're an incredibly nice person, but people lump you in with the governor because you didn't publicly object to these things. And so you are saying right now, if you're a governor, you will never shut the state down again. You will allow people to go to work. You will allow people to
go to church.
Absolutely. So you will never, under any circumstances, shut the state of Indiana down again.
We can't. We can't afford to.
What would you have done differently? Because you were in a position where you could have spoken out publicly, but from all accounts, you did not. So what would you have done differently if you could get in a time machine?
Well, I don't have the luxury of going back and changing. And I can look back over my life, Casey, and I can say, if I had it to do over again, I'd do this, this, and this. I don't have that luxury. What I have to do is learn from experiences and know what I'm going to do moving forward. And so I will tell you this. When Governor Holcomb said go home and stay home, I ended up going to Evansville. I was there for 3 days, and I thought, this is crazy. And I went back to work and went into the State House every day. I didn't go and not participate. I tried to be a part of what we needed to do. And quite honestly, when we look back, we were lied to by Fauci and the federal government, And so I will tell you this, when I'm governor, experts will be on tap, but they're not going to be on top. We're not going to have them be telling us what we can do, because we know it doesn't work. We've seen it.
Real quick, I want to ask you one more thing about 2020, and then there's some big things going on that you're trying to kind of lead on, I think, right now, and a lot of people are curious about this. The governor, in the wake of the riots downtown, had a VIP meet. First of all, he called those people noble. He had, a month before, called people who peacefully protested in front of his residency, picked up all their trash, went home, nobody was injured. He called those people a human petri dish. And then, which I'm sure you're aware that they did in a press conference. He then called the rioters noble, and then proceeded to have a VIP meet and greet with Malik Mohammed, a domestic terrorist who threatened to seize his house on live television. And then Malik Mohammed, he let Malik Mohammed go. Malik Mohammed goes to Portland and is now in jail for attempting to kill cops. Did you object to that at all? Did you tell him how offensive that was to so many people? And if these social justice protests, riots, whatever you want to call them, happen again, how are you going to handle it differently than Holcomb handled it?
Well, I'm not going to tolerate as governor people disrupting our peace, people in making us not safe. I mean, what we have seen happen, because I live in downtown Indianapolis, what we saw during COVID and the destruction and all the harm that was done to businesses, they haven't recovered. They haven't recouped. And so we can't tolerate that kind of behavior. And we need to be sure that we have the state police there participating, and they need to be on call and they need to be there, particularly if local police are not doing their job and not there helping to protect citizens. But I will tell you, I know a lot of the senators, a lot of the people that participated in that demonstration outside of the governor's mansion, and they aren't, bad people. They're law-abiding people that should have the right to say what they want to say.
Why didn't anybody in the administration, why didn't you, why didn't anyone? I just, when he called those people a human petri dish, that's about the worst thing you can say to somebody. And then Malik Mohammed gets VIP treatment. And a lot of people looked at that and they said, look, Donald Rainwater raised 8 cents and got 345,000 votes. That was a protest vote against the governor. And I just wonder why nobody stood up for those people when the governor was so awful to people who were doing nothing wrong, and the people who were destroying downtown got photo ops and meet and greets.
And people should have the right. And as governor, I'll protect their right to say and to assemble and to do what they need to do to express themselves and to be able to say what they think that is different from me, because I believe that we can't be closed as leaders to the public. It's why I believe that, moving forward into this convention for lieutenant governor, the delegates should have the right to choose.
Yeah, I think that's great. And you were a leader on that. You deserve credit. You were one of the first people to come out and say that. Absolutely.
Because this government is the people's government.
Yeah,
And when one person feels like it's their government, then they failed the people.
Let's talk about your plan now, which I think is interesting. It's axe the tax. A lot of people say you can't or won't do that because you won't cut. They estimated at $8 billion from the government. Now, I would love to see you do that. I'd be your biggest fan. Do you have a plan to cut $8 billion?
I want to tell you my plan to axe the tax.
Let's hear all about it. I want to know. I'm interested in more money, as you know, and I'm interested in cutting $8 billion from state government. Let's go.
All right. I travel the state, and I listen to Hoosiers, and they're struggling today from the high cost of living, inflation, and binomics. It costs $11,000 more today than it did 3 years ago just to meet basic needs. So we can axe the tax, and we can put thousands of dollars back into Hoosiers' pockets. The Federal Reserve in St. Louis says the average Hoosier makes $58,000. That's $2,000 of their money we get back to them.
Yeah.
Now, special interest groups, big spending bureaucrats, my opponents are saying it can't be done. But that money's not theirs, it's yours. And Hoosiers will always spend their money more wisely than the government.
So where do we take it?
I'm going to make sure. I'm getting ready. I'm telling you.
Perfect.
I'm telling you, Rob. Let me talk.
Okay, perfect.
Keep the tax, Kendall.
Yeah.
Let me talk. So anyway, it's $2,000 we can save.
Yeah.
So as former vice chair of the House Ways and Means Committee, as former auditor of state, I'm telling you we can do it. And here is how.
Great.
All right. We limit government growth. We end wasteful government spending, and we find deficiencies in government. So in 2013, my last year in the General Assembly, we passed a 2-year, $30 billion budget for the state of Indiana. 2023, 10 years later, we passed a $44.5 billion budget. We increased government spending by 50%, but from the 21 to the 23 budget session, we increased government spending by 19%.
Yeah.
Before we passed the budget, in 2023, we had a $6 billion surplus.
Yeah.
So we kept $2.9 billion as our surplus. We put the other $3.1 billion into government spending.
But why weren't you publicly objecting about this until now? I love this. But why wait till now?
So if we had taken some of that money and put it towards eliminating the income tax, we'd be that much closer. And we're already doing it, Rob and Casey. I mean, in 2027, we're going to go from 3.1 to 2.9%. I'm saying let's take excess surpluses and revenues in the future, and rather than spend them, let's put them towards eliminating the income tax. I'm not talking about a tax replacement. I am talking about a tax cut. And so
I love it.
We take our $44.5 billion base and we let it grow at a controlled amount, cost of living, rate of inflation, not 19%. We take those excess revenues and surpluses, put it towards eliminating the tax, and we will be able to phase it in, and we will be able to do it and put triggers in place to protect against economic downturn.
So you're going to go to Rod and Todd, the Flanders boys, and say, here's the deal. I'm vetoing any budget that has growth of government outside of whatever they determine that number is.
I'm going to work with the General Assembly, and I'm going to leverage my relationships. And what I have that no other opponent has is the relationships in the General Assembly to make these kind of bold things happen. Because I was 8 years as a state representative. I had those relationships. 7 years as a state senator. As president of the Senate, I had those relationships. So you can have a bold vision. But if you don't have the relationships within the General Assembly, you're not going to get it done. And at the end of the day, I believe that people will become engaged because they want their money back.
You're listening to Kendall and Casey on 93 WIBC, and that is the voice of Suzanne Crouch, who wants to be your governor of the great state of Indiana. All right, let's, you just mentioned relationships, and let's talk about your relationship with Senator Bray, because you are not agreeing on something. You have mentioned that you want to do an audit of the FSSA, and we know recently there was that $1 billion clerical error. How do you do a revenue projection? If you do an audit of this organization, what do you expect to find? And you have mentioned that you want to pause the cuts. How do you pay for it?
Well, first of all, the reason I want an audit is how do you make $1 billion mistake? How do you make $1 billion mistake and then say we're going to cut services to the families and to the children that are severely disabled and have medical complex needs? How do we do that? But part of my eliminating the income tax is modernizing state government. You know, I know how state government works. I know what we can do to make it work better. And so I want to take state government and come in and have outside sources come in and actually do audits on all of the agencies, because I believe we will find efficiencies and cost savings that we can then also use to direct towards other services or towards eliminating the state income tax. You know, I already have a plan. We're on our third iteration of a plan to take our 100 state agencies and get them down to 35 or less. And so to be able to consolidate and to be able to realize cost savings. So it's not about finding more money to spend. It's about taking the money that we have and finding savings within our current government to be able to direct towards those services. And so at the end of the day, it's truly about being bold and understanding government and being in local government, state government, at the executive and legislative levels. I don't need on-the-job training. I know how government works, and I know how it can work better.
So how do we square? Because I started by saying, what grade would you give Holcomb administration? You said A. Okay. But this interview has been about how government is too big, it's too inefficient, it's too ineffective, it's grown too much.
I want to be A+.
But okay, so big government this is what people kind of struggle with. Big government, big taxes, big spending, inefficiencies, which I agree with you with on all of those things.
Smaller government, smaller taxes.
But how is that an
taxes?
A? That's what people don't understand is people believe you are afraid to break from the governor, and this sort of seems like
You know what, Rob? I mean, honest to goodness. You know, as the chair of the Intellectual and Developmental Disability Task Force, I called a meeting to be able to have FSSA explain to us how they made $1 billion error. They could not answer questions. I then came out and asked for an internal audit of a state agency that I don't oversee, and I'm not afraid to do that.
So Holcomb blew it. I mean, we knew 4 years ago when he was admitting he was leaving the emergency declaration in place when people are going to Colts games and Pacers games and bars and restaurants, and he was being open. He was finally forced to admit, because it was so ridiculous, I'm doing this because the federal money that's coming in is going to Medicaid.
Well, you know how Medicaid works. You're smart. You're part of the General Assembly. You knew that federal money was going to end eventually. How is it that we were talking about this on our shows at the time, but yet the state of Indiana is looking around going, well, we have no idea how this happened.
But you know what, Rob and Casey? Honest to goodness, you all really don't understand the influence you have. And so when people draw attention and when the media draws attention to an issue, I have seen time and time again where that issue gets resolved. And so we ended up with pressure on to be able to end that. We now have the Senate taking on initiatives to try to look at how do we keep, if we ever find ourselves in this kind of situation again, how do we make sure that the balance of power is not disrupted?
All right, I think we're running out of time.
Got about 3 minutes left.
It's half my show, and I would like to have the last question with you, Suzanne.
And we save the best to last, Casey.
Okay, so you have the potential to be the first female governor of Indiana, and just recently you tweeted out Happy National Girls and Women in Sports Day, and you had mentioned it was the one area that you and Eric Holcomb did disagree on. How do we protect women in sports? How do you work with the NCAA to make sure that females are not hurt when they're just trying to play?
Well, you know what? As you know, Casey, women have worked very, very hard and very, very long to have the right to vote and the right to be able to participate in our own sports. And so only for the last 50 years have we been able to do that. And as governor, I'll protect their right to be able to participate and to be able to be protected and to be able to be safe in the sports. And I will stand up and take on whoever wants to fight in terms of not trying to do that.
Why should people vote for you? What distinguishes you from the other candidates?
Well, first of all, I love and have a heart for Hoosiers and for Indiana. I also have the experience at the local and legislative level to be able to deliver results for Hoosiers. And I'll tell you, I traveled the state I have for 9 years, listening to Hoosiers, listening to the same people, Rob, you and Casey listen to. And they know that we can do better. And that's what I want to do as governor. I want to deliver more results. I want to give them more economic freedom. I want them to have the freedom to live their own life and to choose the path they want to choose without interference from an all-powerful government at the local, at the state, or at the federal level.
And real quick, I just want to say you deserve 100% credit for coming in here. There's a lot of people you're running against who will not do that and have not been willing to do that. And you deserve all the credit for being willing to do that.
That's because girls just want to have fun.
Do you have a website, or if people want to know more about the tax plan?
CrouchForIndiana.com.
That's pretty simple, right? Pretty simple for that. And we will in no way hold against you.
And you know what?
What?
You haven't even said anything about Silent Sue. I told my husband.
I said you were very quiet.
I told my husband that you called me Silent Sue.
I did, yes.
And he laughed.
I think the silence was very harmful for the state, because I think you are far more.
No, I think it was Silent Suzanne.
Silent Suzanne, that's right. And I think that was very harmful for the state. I think you...
Thank you for speaking out.
Yeah, you're a very likable person. I think you had the ability to help people. But CrouchForIndiana.com is the website. Is that correct?
That's it, Rob.
There you go. Suzanne Crouch, thank you for being with us today.
Thank you, Rob. Thank you, Casey.
We appreciate your time and the conversation. You're listening to Kendall and Casey. It's 93 WIBC.
It's Terry Stacy, and locally owned Cynthia's Hallmark stores have hundreds of Valentine's Day gift ideas for every budget. Cynthia's carries beautiful jewelry lines, including Moon Glow handmade custom jewelry featuring the moon from the date of your choice, like your anniversary, birthday, or any other special event. I love this, and it's available at Cynthia's in Greenfield and on 96th Street. Cynthia's has affordable spa products like Musi bath bombs and shower steamers in so many fragrances. Or choose something from the lemon and lavender collection, like a beauty sleep satin mask or silky satin pillowcases. Still popular, fresh cut paper life-size 3D flower bouquet cards. They're gorgeous and last forever, just $12.99. Cynthia's has all your favorites from South Bend chocolates, including Heart Box gift assortments and Cupid Crunch, and your favorites from Fannie and Mae. I love the chocolate pizza that comes perfectly securely wrapped in a pizza box and taste delicious. Family-owned Cynthia's Hallmark, 116th and Allisonville Road, 116th and Brook School Road, 96th and Lantern Road, and in Greenfield.
If you're facing $10,000, $20,000, or even $30,000 or more in credit card debt, medical bills, or other unsecured debt, there are programs available that can consolidate those debts into one single reduced monthly payment you can afford if you qualify. Accredited Debt Relief is on a mission to help you become debt-free in just 24 to 48 months. They've helped over 300,000 qualified consumers. Hardworking Americans just like you pay off more than $3 billion in debt, earning them an A+ rating from the Better Business Bureau. Accredited Debt Relief will tailor the program to fit your specific budget and financial situation. So call Accredited Debt Relief now for your free no-obligation savings estimate and let them help you take control of your financial destiny.
Call 800-530-3939. 800-530-3939. That's 800-530-3939. 800-530-3939. Program and services not available in all states.
Our country is being invaded. Thousands pour across the southern border every day, bringing fentanyl and violence. Who's to blame? Career politicians like Jim Banks. As a member of Congress, Jim Banks said that Indiana needed an influx of immigration. Jim Banks campaigned with political insiders like Paul Ryan and is endorsed by Mitch McConnell, who sabotaged the building of Trump's border wall. Jim Banks has betrayed Indiana on the border.
I'm John Rust, and I'm running to be your next United States Senator. I am a farmer, businessman, and political outsider. My opponent, Jim Banks, talks a big game about border security. Don't be fooled. Since Jim Banks said he wanted an influx of immigrants, we've seen over 8 million illegals pour into our nation. Jim Banks got his wish. Hoosiers don't want a senator who speaks out of both sides of his mouth, and America can't afford it. I am John Rust. I approve this message because I'll make sure Trump's border wall actually gets built from the Gulf of Mexico to the Pacific Ocean.
Paid for by John Rust for U.S. Senate.
You can live out your MasterChef dreams when you find a professional on Angie to tackle your dream kitchen remodel. Connect with skilled professionals to get all your home projects done well. Inside to outside, repairs to renovations. Get started on the Angie app or visit Angie.com today. You can do this when you Angie that.
Coming up in 2 minutes, the impact of the Whiting oil refinery outage is still having an impact from last week. Plus, where state lawmakers are on the Medicaid shortfall that they're still trying to figure out, and a huge donation for this school in Putnam County. I'm Kirk Darling. That and more coming up from the Technology Recyclers Studios after Fox News Radio. You're listening to 93 WIBC, WIBC HD1 Indianapolis. It's 11 o'clock.
This is a Fox News alert. The Supreme Court takes up a big case affecting the 2024 election. I'm Dave Anthony. Considering a Trump appeal to the Colorado ruling removing the former president from the state primary ballot, Trump lawyer Jonathan Mitchell told the justices allowing Colorado and maybe other states to do that would
take away the votes of potentially tens of millions of Americans.
Colorado's ruling disqualified the former president under a provision of the Constitution claiming he led an insurrection inciting the 2021 Capitol riot. But Mitchell argues,
even if the candidate is an admitted insurrectionist, Section 3 still allows the candidate to run for office and even win election to office, and then see whether Congress lifts that disability after the election.
But he's been peppered with questions from all the justices and gotten some pushback from Sonia Sotomayor.
There's a whole lot of examples of states relying on Section 3 to disqualify insurrectionists for state offices.
That hearing continues. No word how soon we might get a court decision. 5 U.S. Marines are confirmed dead this morning, found in the wreckage of a helicopter that crashed early yesterday in the mountains east of San Diego in stormy weather. The U.S. has taken out with an airstrike in Iraq the commander of a militia backed by Iran. the leader of the group behind the attack last month on a U.S. base in Jordan that killed 3 American soldiers, something the leaders of Russia and China might have discussed today.
Relations have never been better. That's what the Kremlin wants us to know after a telephone conference between Presidents Vladimir Putin and Xi Jinping. We're told the two men agree that American interference in other countries is a problem. A spokesman saying Putin and Xi are on the same page when it comes to conflicts in Ukraine and the Middle East.
Fox's Jonathan Savage. The Senate may take up a vote today on sending billions of dollars in military aid to Israel and the war against Hamas and to Ukraine in that fight against Russia. America's listening to Fox News.
93 WIBC Mobile News. On the level, on the go.
Another price hike. Radar is clear. It's 53 and partly sunny downtown. I'm Kurt Darling. Here's what's trending at 11:02. Last week's Whiting BP oil refinery power outage is still having impacts at what you pay at the pump. Gas Buddy experts are expecting another jump in gas prices soon, on top of the most recent increase. They say gas could be back near the mid 340s by the end of the weekend. The refinery outage last week lasted only less than a day. Lawmakers appear to have no fix at the moment for the $1 billion Medicaid shortfall, despite calls from the Lieutenant Governor, Suzanne Crouch, for an audit.
I don't quite understand the purpose of an audit. Keep in mind a couple of things. The $984 million is not $984 million lost dollars. This is a forecasting error.
State Senate President Rod Bray says using cash reserves to fill that gap wouldn't work either, saying that it would not solve the actual problem. Democrats in Washington are too focused on foreign aid and not the southern border, so says Senator Mike Braun. He says the failed border bill that died Wednesday had too much money for Taiwan, Ukraine, and Israel.
Every penny of this foreign aid we will borrow. This isn't coming out of some emergency fund, so we're adding to the national debt to boot. No one seems to care much about that anymore. I do.
Braun telling WIBC's Hammer and Nigel it's best to deal with each country's foreign aid separately. A huge donation for a small college in Western Indiana. Ryan Hedrick reports.
DePaul University President Lori Smith revealed the school received a $150 million donation alongside $50 million in matching funds. This $200 million donation stands as one of the largest ever received by an American university. Ryan Hedrick, 93 WIBC Mobile News.
And the Indiana Pacers are making more roster moves. They've traded Buddy Hield to the 76ers in exchange for Marcus Morris, Furkan Korkmaz, and 3 second-round draft picks. Hield has been averaging just over 12 points a game for Indiana this season. I'm Kurt Darling, on the level, on the go, and on WIBC.com.
Do you get sinus infections, congestion, sinus pressure and pain, above your eyes, below your eyes, sinus headaches? You've gone to the doctor, you've visited urgent care over and over again, and it's always the same thing. Oh, I know. Let's try antibiotics and nasal sprays. But the sinus infections keep coming back. The good news? Relief is possible. How? A minimally invasive procedure done in the office of Indianapolis Sinus Center called balloon sinuplasty. Imagine the relief of not having to deal with your sinus infections anymore. Set an appointment today with Indianapolis Sinus Center and find out if balloon sinuplasty is the solution for you. Call 317-528-9650. 317-528-9650. That's 317-528-9650.
The Suburban Indie Home and Outdoor Living Show returns to Grand Park in Westfield February 9th through 11th.
Featuring over 200 amazing exhibitors.
Tickets are only $5 at suburbanindieshows.com.
This hour on 93 WIBC is powered by Pierce Jewelers, Carmel's Diamond Engagement Ring Store.
You're listening to Rob Kendall.
When we talk about sending money somewhere, we're talking about printing the money because we have no money.
And Casey Daniels.
My government would never lie to me, would they?
On 93 WIBC.
Good morning. It is Thursday, February 8th. It is 5 minutes after 11. You're listening to Kendall and Casey on 93 WIBC.
So that was an incredible interview that we did with Suzanne Crouch. She deserves a lot of respect for coming in, and she sat here for 30 minutes and answered questions. And if you missed it, well, I'm sure the news will be playing part of it throughout the day. We'll have it up on the podcast. I know Kev is going to do a story on it for the website. And it was everything we do not fail to deliver on this show, Casey.
Mm-hmm.
And it was everything that we promised you it would be. I thought her answers were very interesting. And I thought we might just kind of spend this next portion of the segment. Because, look, here is how I've always approached interviews. And that is, people always think, Rob, you're so critical of these people. And then they come in and you just ask them questions because it's their time to answer for the things we are inquisitive about. And just like with Jefferson Shreve or any other people, we can get we get more information out of, more flies with honey than you do with vinegar. Just asking questions and letting people talk. Everybody knows my opinion on it. It's our job to get that person's opinion on it. And she was very clear that she gives Eric Holcomb an A.
Yeah, were you surprised by that answer?
Well, here's the...
You seemed like you were surprised.
Well, I was, because politically that's the death answer. I mean, Diego Morales, who is a buffoon, was elected. I mean, an incompetent buffoon was won an election at convention because the base of the Republican Party hates Eric Holcomb. And so, we kind of talked about, well, what is that answer going to be? Now, to her credit, she gave an answer. It's going to be a wildly unpopular one, and I think she's going to have a huge issue with saying, I think Eric Holcomb deserves an A in a Republican primary. Now, maybe in a Democrat primary, he might do very well with an A. But then when you spend the rest of the interview being critical of, by the way, no one can be mad at me anymore, because was she not critical of every single thing that I've been critical of? Taxes are too high. Government's too inefficient.
Right.
Government's
Growth of
too
government.
big. Government's too unaccountable. Her whole platform centers around stopping those things. So no one can ever come on this show again or in the chats or whatever and go, Rob Kendall is an irrational right-wing radical, because the number 2 person in the state of Indiana said the exact same things I have been saying for 7 years now. I don't understand, though, how you can say the governor gets an A, but then be critical of all these things the governor did.
Well, I think that question surprised her right out of the gate, but I can understand where she wanted to give the administration a good grade because, like it or not, her name is part of that administration. So she didn't want to come on and say, well, we deserve an F.
I mean,
because she's got to own that. I could understand maybe if she said B, B minus, C average, or C plus, but to your point, to come out and say A, we did fantastic, and then go through all the areas of needed improvement, that's surprising.
And she is incredibly likable in person. And,
yes.
I first met her, well, it's been 10 years ago now. And again, like I said, through no fault of either of our own, because Mike Pence made a terrible choice for state auditor, and then against advice of many people. And then once because he made it for political purposes, realized what a disaster he made, he then strong-armed that guy into resigning, bullied him into resigning, and then lied to the people of Indiana about why the guy quit and played stupid. And then Suzanne was the next choice. Somebody like Suzanne should have been the choice from the beginning. But through no fault of our own, our paths crossed, and she was very likable then. And she's very likable personally now. But those answers are simply not going to fly in a Republican primary.
Now, you're talking about things of the past when you say those answers aren't going to fly.
No, I'm saying like the answer she gave here to say Eric Holcomb deserves an A is there are people who heard nothing after that, because you can't say deserves an A and then be critical of all the things. The 2020 stuff, and I don't blame her politically. It's a huge albatross for her because... And don't you love that the nicknames get around? She brought it up, right? I was trying to be nice. And she goes, hey, what is it that you call me? And she's very funny, and she's a very nice person, and she had a good sense of humor about it. But you can't just dismiss 2020 as the past and we're not going to do it again, because it happened and you were there. And this is why she made the best case for Micah Beckwith to be lieutenant governor, whoever wins this primary, with that interview. Because if she had spoken out, if when Holcomb called everybody a human petri dish, if she'd have spoken out and said, absolutely not, those are law-abiding, tax-paying citizens who want to go to work, and I can't make the governor do anything, but I can stand up for these people. If when Holcomb called Malik Mohammed and his buddies nobles, she would have said what she said here, absolutely not. Those people are garbage, and what they did to this city is garbage. And when Holcomb had that meet and greet with Malik Mohammed, she had said, absolutely not, we don't stand for that. The business closures, the mask mandates. I get that she has come out here and said, which is great, it's very reassuring, that she has said, I will not shut the state down again. I will not do mask mandates again. But how do we ultimately know that if when you had the chance to do it,
she did not publicly speak out?
And then if anybody that is going to be a delegate for state convention, that is the number one. If I'm Micah Beckwith, I'm playing that interview on a loop everywhere I go, because she made the case why you have to have a lieutenant governor who not necessarily is adversarial to the governor, but is willing to put the people ahead of the policies and the positions. And I just don't think she's yet to square up the whole Holcomb issue. And I think it's a hard one for her because she's worked around the guy for 7 years, but he abandoned her, Casey. And this is what I think when people look at fighters, he treated her like garbage for 7 years. She raised millions of dollars for him. She was a loyal soldier. She did everything that was asked of her. She was, no matter how stupid or ridiculous his positions were, she's been a happy warrior. He took her off the signs during their reelection. And now his little errand boy, Brad Chambers, decides he's going to run, and Holcomb's done everything but endorse the guy. All the Holcomb people are working for the guy, and they're helping him raise money and everything else. And yet she's still, if I were her, I'd have come in here and said, look, we deserve an F. Holcomb has failed. I did everything I could behind the scenes, because that's how the sausage gets made, to try to fix this. If I'd have spoke out publicly, I'd have been totally ostracized and had no chance. And here I am to come and tell you where the bodies are buried. And she didn't do that.
Instead, she was still cheerleading for the Holcomb administration. I did ask her off the air about how she felt about the lack of endorsement from Eric Holcomb. I don't feel like I can share the answer because it was off the record. But I will say that having Mike Braun in the race and also Brad Chambers, who Eric Holcomb is supporting, there's the potential that they could split that vote and it would help Suzanne Crouch.
Well,
because that's more of an establishment-y sort of
we'll see.
combo.
Now, she deserves, and we started the interview with this, 100% credit for being in here answering the questions, because people like Todd Rokita are too chicken to do that. People like Jim Banks are too chicken to do that. People like Brad Chambers will certainly be too chicken to do that. Mike Braun hasn't come in here. And so she deserves credit because she knew we weren't hostile, physically or in tone to her. Our voices weren't raising, but she knew she was going to get hard questions. She got those hard questions, and she sat here and to the best of her ability answered the questions. And if you're ranking people, somebody who will come in here and answer the questions and own the baggage deserves infinite more credit than those total cowards like Todd Rokita, who will come on other shows on this radio station and badmouth me, but would never have the guts to come in here and sit here and answer the questions, or Jim Lucas, or Banks, or any of these other people. So kudos to her for having way more cojones than those guys did.
Okay, so you were not super happy with the answers of the grade of the Holcomb Crouch administration, but she said, I want to move forward. I want to work towards the future. And we asked her about the Axe the Tax proposal, her plans for the FSSA, her desire to audit that, also mental health throughout the state of Indiana. What did you think of those answers?
Well, again, you were in the government, and she didn't have an answer for how 4 years ago, 3 years ago, 2 years ago, that's how long the emergency declaration went on, was telling people from my little perch here on 40 Monument Circle, this is going to end in disaster because here's how Medicaid actually works. How is it that the radio guy can get it right, but every Republican in state government got it wrong, including her? The radio guy should not be more in tune to basics of government policy than the people who make and craft the policy. And again, she didn't speak out when Holcomb admitted he was leaving the emergency declaration in place for the federal money to come in, much of that going to Medicaid for legalized vote buying. And she was assistant, the number 2 on Ways and Means for years, Casey, behind Brown when he was chairman. She knows how it works. So I think to some people it comes off a little disingenuous to say we need to audit this and we need to figure out what's going on. We knew what was going on 3.5, 4 years ago because we
and it should be everybody else at the State House should know how Medicaid works. So she did not give any specifics on what she will cut from state government. And you will not grow yourself into an $8 billion difference. And if you asked me, Rob, if I were running for governor, what would you cut? I would give you a laundry list, and I would start with that $500 million that is going to Eric Holcomb's World Economic Forum slush fund dealio with the LEAP and the IDC, and I would start there and work my way backwards, and I'd find you $8 billion by lunch. You didn't get any specifics, and so when she's hit with specifics, like with FSSA, well, we can't do that. Okay. Then what? Well, we can't do that. Okay, then what? And so this is the general, very vague. But did she or did she not say everything that I had said? Everything I've said about the growth of the budget, the growth of the government, the growth of the tax, all of this is unacceptable. So I don't want to hear ever again from any of those people down the street from us at 200 West Washington, Rod and Todd, the Flanders boys, Jim Lucas, Jerry Torr, any of the Good Time Fun gang over there. I don't want to hear any more about how I'm totally irrational or a shock jock or doing this for ratings or anything else, because the lieutenant governor, Holcomb's biggest fan and cheerleader, said the same thing I've been saying. We're done here. The prosecution rests.
It's Kendall Casey on 93 WIBC.
Hammer and Nigel.
Joe Biden speaks gibberish. Joe Biden has a hard time walking. He can't find his way off of a stage. Don't give me this crap that Joe Biden's cognitively all there and way superior to Donald Trump in that category. This stapler that we've got in the studio is completely more qualified to be running this country right now than Joe Biden.
Hammer and Nigel, weekdays 3 till 7 on 93 WIBC and WIBC.com.
Your health is about so much more than your medical needs, so shouldn't your health plan be too? If you qualify for Medicare and Medicaid, a Humana Medicare Advantage dual eligible special needs plan could help you buy essentials you need. Get $3,000 a year for eligible groceries, rent, utilities, and more. Plus, whatever you don't spend rolls over to the next month. You'll even get benefits like $0 copays on routine prescriptions, plus routine dental, vision, and hearing coverage. Get peace of mind with a Medicare plan that is there for the big moments and every moment in between. Learn more at gethumana.com. Humana, a more human way to healthcare. Humana is a coordinated care plan with a Medicare contract and a contract with the Indiana Medicaid program. Enrollment in any Humana plan depends on contract renewal. Allowance amounts cannot be combined with other benefit allowances. Limitations and restrictions may apply.
Expand your backyard living space with an Indie Decorative Concrete patio. Did you know that on average, our patios are less expensive than a wood deck? With a longer life, less maintenance, more color options, and more texture and pattern selections. We can even stamp your patio to look like wood. You can get a much larger and longer lasting entertainment space for your investment. Indie Decorative Concrete, the patio experts, changing the way Indy thinks about concrete.
The Angie's List you know and trust is now Angie, and we're so much more than just a list. We still connect you with top local pros and show you ratings and reviews, but now we also let you compare upfront prices on hundreds of projects and book a service instantly. We can even handle the rest of your project from start to finish. So remember, Angie's List is now Angie, and we're here to get your job done right. Get started at Angie.com. That's ANGI, or download the app today.
You're listening to the Kendall and Casey Show on 93 WIBC.
Daddy, what do taxes pay for?
Oh, why, everything. Policemen, trees, sunshine. And let's not forget the folks who just don't feel like working, God bless them.
20 minutes after 11 with Kendall and Casey on 93 WIBC. Hammer joins us in the studio.
It takes a lot to render me speechless. I'm a guy that has opinions on a lot of things.
Yeah.
So I'm on my way into work, and I'm listening to your interview with Lieutenant Governor Suzanne Crouch. And right out of the gate, I believe it was Rob asked her, what grade, like what letter grade would you give the Holcomb era?
Yeah.
And she said A. And at that point, my mouth dropped in my car. I was that guy like, you can't be serious. Like, I didn't know what to say. I was imagining if I were in studio with you guys, like that would have rendered me speechless. And I
was shocked. I was very surprised. And I told Casey, I said, she knew what question she was going to ask, but I thought right out of the gate, how do we pin somebody down on, because you know how these politicians are, and they're all this way. If you let them talk, they'll write you, you ask them one question, they'll write you a book.
Right.
And I said, we got to get her on record, which is very fair. It's not a sandbag. It's not a, gotcha question.
Asking about her experience.
Right. And I thought that's the only way I could come up with, and I thought about this last night for quite a while, that I knew we would get a straight answer on where she viewed the Holcomb administration, and she said A.
And I got to be honest with you, everything after that didn't matter to me.
Yeah.
Like, she could have said, here's my plan for this. Here's my plan for that. You're going to look people, in the eye, or in this case, over the radio, and say, in A, when your group, your direct boss, which you had access to every single day, decided to tell people you can't go to work, you're a petri dish, but this group marching up and down the street very angrily looking to siege the governor's mansion, that's a noble cause, and you're going to give that an A.
Yeah. So Rob told me this is like the pre-interview prep between Rob and I, and he said, okay, this is how I'm going to ask it. I'm going to ask her to give it a grade, A through F, and that will determine the direction of the rest of the interview. So I knew right out of the gate that was going to be the question. He asked it, she answered, and when she said A, I looked at him and I thought, oh boy, here we go.
And the thing is, there was no but afterwards, right? If she says, well, A, but I didn't have a lot of authority to do the things that I wanted. I'm the lieutenant governor. I'm like the vice president. I'm there to smile and wave and, sign autographs when people take a tour. You don't really have a lot to do. And it was your boss that made the calls. But, and this is where the but would come in, you have access to your boss that people like us don't have. You could have went to him and said, hey, you're ticking people off. This is a bad move. And the minute she announced her campaign, that's what she should have done. But instead, she came in here today and said, oh, yeah, hey.
There was only one answer she gave that offended me, because we got thick skin in this business. And the answer she gave that I thought was very offensive and is really going to piss people off is where she refused to divulge the conversations with Holcomb.
She said they have private conversations.
It's not your husband. He's a public official. You are a public official. You work for us. If you're going to talk about how you're not him, then you have an obligation to tell us what you said to him. And the fact that she wouldn't do that.
It could have been embarrassing for her, because maybe she was putting it to him and he squashed it.
But that would have worked in her favor to say, look, I loathe this guy. I was in there because I kept trying to do some
We had big disagreements. Sometimes we would have at it. That didn't happen. And again, you're talking about a job that requires us, the people, to believe in you, to physically get out and cast our vote for you. And you're not going to tell us some of the conversations. I'm not saying we have to have all the inside baseball, all the inside dirt, but she was very protective of that.
You are the company you keep. And this is what I will say about Suzanne. And we talked about this a little bit last segment. She is actually a really competent person. She was a very good state auditor. And she is actually someone who, if you're looking at who are the more competent people roaming around the state house, not that that's like a huge bar we're hopping over here. You're ahead of the guy who drives drunk, blows through a barricade, flees the scene, and then tries to hide his car. So, it's not like there's this huge thing you're hopping over here. But she hitched her wagon to this guy because it was the politically savvy thing to do. She stood behind him in 2020, even though he took her off the signs, which is unbelievable. She raised money for him. And so, unfortunately, she's forever linked to him. And the competency of what she actually isn't even a part of the conversation, because it's all about you are the number two to Eric Holcomb. And you can't say an A and then say everything sucks. And that's basically, it was like this. She couldn't thread the needle. And we had talked about that for 2 or 3 days about how she's going to thread this needle. And she tried, and that just doesn't work.
She tried to do it with the internet. We brought broadband.
Yeah, nobody cares, because the broadband
we were locked up still.
The broadband was paid for real quick. The broadband was paid for with tax increases, and we didn't have time to get into that. It's like that could be another conversation. Sorry, I mean to cut you off.
No, you're fine. Isn't it amazing, though, that so many of these politicians, they try to bring up stuff they think you care about, and it's a big nothing burger.
That's so spot on.
Remember during the mayor's race, like, I get there are some animal shelter issues in Marion County. All right, fine. I'm not saying that it doesn't exist. But Jefferson Shreve was more passionate about that than he was, crime and violence and murder in the city.
And I'm shocked with her because she's so politically astute that Diego Morales, who you wouldn't put in charge of a lemonade stand, was elected Secretary of State because the people, the base of the party at the convention, hated Holcomb so much that they said, we will put this buffoon in over Holly Sullivan, who is Holcomb's handpicked person. And I would have thought going forward, if you're running for governor, I mean, unless you're just a completely subservient errand boy like Brad Chambers, you would run as far away from that guy as you possibly could. And that was her. She can't run away from him now. She is hitched to the wagon to Holcomb the remainder of the campaign.
And let me just say, I thought you guys did a great job on that interview. And this is why I love this radio station. This is why I love WIBC. And I hope people keep coming back here because of moments like today. Like, look what's happened recently here at WIBC. Today, you've got a candidate for governor who comes in here, and Rob and Casey, you're giving her the business right to her face. Yesterday in our program, we've got Mike Braun calling in right after he votes in Washington, D.C. Tony Katz's program, Victoria Spartz, breaks the news that she is going to run for re-election. We went right at it with Jim Lucas after his DUI situation. That's what you get with this radio station. So when people on social media who know nothing of what we do say, oh, that's that Republican station, it's just the conservatives. We're really tough. We are really hard on conservatives, probably tougher on conservatives than we are on Democrats. And every show that we have here at our station, we've got the ability to break major stories, have the movers and shakers on, and I hope people respect that and keep coming back.
So Eric Doden will be with us tomorrow at 11, and he's going to talk a lot about his area, which is he was the IEDC director before Chambers. So we're going to talk about LEAP. We're going to talk about IEDC. We're going to talk about this money that of the poor and middle class money that goes to mega corporations. We'll see what he thinks about that.
And also how he wants to give teachers a tax break.
So that will be tomorrow at 11. He's going to come in. Okay, so real quick, though, the Pacers made a trade while we were doing that interview.
Buddy Hield on the move.
Oh, no.
Woj from ESPN putting out on Twitter, Buddy Hield on his way to Philadelphia.
Do we get Joel Embiid in return?
No.
Oh, damn.
You get Marcus Morris, a European shooter, and 3 second-round picks.
We got what?
Exactly. So
why would we do that?
I don't like helping Philadelphia out.
Yeah.
Like, they're ahead of the Pacers in the standings. Now, Embiid is injured. He might miss the rest of the regular season. So you can catch Philadelphia. Don't help them.
Yeah.
Don't help them. Don't give them a shooter. Like, I get it. Buddy Hield's had a down year, and he's an unrestricted free agent at the end of the year. So there's a chance he was going to walk, and you're going to get absolutely nothing in return.
Well, so what? With 3 second-round picks, who are we going to get? Malik Renew? I mean, what are we doing with 2 second or 3? This is not the NFL draft here.
I'm not even sure these two guys that are coming over will ever even suit up for the Pacers.
That's an odd trade. That's a very odd trade.
Benedict Mathurin, this is your time to shine. You're now the starter. And Ben Shepherd, the rookie, who was the second first-round pick the Pacers had last year. He's supposed to be the shooter. All right, young fella, this is your opportunity.
All right, what's coming up this afternoon?
This afternoon, it's you.
Oh, that's right.
We're going off the rails
I totally
with
forgot.
Rob Kendall.
Thanks for reminding me.
Jerry Lopez, Indy Spanglish is filling in for Big Nige.
Nigel's not at work?
I know, shocking, right? And we'll have the biggest stories of the day, and we'll have a lot of fun. We got concert tickets to give away in the first 30 minutes of the show. So from 3 o'clock to 3:30, we'll have a giveaway for you.
Awesome. Thank you, Hammer. It's Kendall and Casey on 93 WIBC.
93 WIBC Mobile News. On the level, on the go.
Why it's significant. I'm Kirk Darling. Here's what's trending at 11:30. Donald Trump's case in front of the Supreme Court is based on the 14th Amendment, which centers on former Confederate officers. Section 3 of the amendment says anyone who previously took an oath to support the Constitution and then engaged in insurrection or rebellion is no longer qualified to serve again. provision was put into place after the Civil War. The case is being heard right now. A border security bill failed in the Senate Wednesday. Indiana Senator Mike Braun says Democrats were too focused on sending money to other countries instead of the southern border.
I've always been one for do them separately so you can have the pros and cons on each one, meaning Taiwan, Israel, and Ukraine.
Braun telling WIBC's Hammer and Nigel you would end up paying for any aid sent to those countries. On the level, on the go, and on WIBC.com.
Hey, got a question for you. Have you saved more than $200,000 for retirement? Do you want this money to work for you without taking a lot of risk? Hammer and Nigel here. What if you could take this money and get an upfront 13% bonus and get a competitive return that's averaged 7% a year for the past 10 years? Sounds pretty darn good, doesn't it?
To get all the details, call Bill Demery right here in Indy. He's my retirement guy. He's your retirement guy. Call Bill right now, 317-648-5120. Discover how you could get an upfront 13% bonus, earn a competitive return that's averaged 7% a year for the last 10 years. And it's all backed by one of the largest insurance companies in the world. This offer won't last long. Call Bill Demery, 317-648-5120. That's 317-648-5120. Past performance is no guarantee of future returns.
That moment when you realize your furnace is stone cold busted. We're talking a real put on every sweater you own, I can't feel my feet, penguin predicament. But fear not, there's an expert for that.
Right now, get a furnace for free when you purchase an air conditioner from Broad Ripple Service Experts.
Like it toasty? There's an expert for that.
Call Broad Ripple Service Experts at 866-EXPERTS. See website for license details.
Everyone wants energy that's reliable and affordable. I've been a Duke Energy line worker here in Indiana for almost 20 years. So I'm proud to help deliver that for the people and the communities that matter most to me. With stronger, more resilient systems, better able to stand up to severe weather, and support for local businesses and jobs. It feels good knowing I'm helping build a smarter energy future for all of us.
Paid for by Duke Energy shareholders.
Franciscan Health has been your hometown leader in heart care for decades. Recognized in 2024 by Health Grades as the #1 hospital in Indiana for cardiology and by CareChex as #1 in Indiana for major cardiac surgery and interventional coronary care, we're proud to keep the hearts of our community beating strong. Franciscan Health, where our greatest reward has always been serving you. Take a heart risk assessment or schedule an appointment at franciscanhealth.org/heartcare.
Why choose a Sleep Number smart bed? Because no two people sleep the same. Only the Sleep Number smart bed lets you each choose your individual firmness and comfort, your Sleep Number setting. The Climate 360 smart bed is so smart it actively cools or warms up to 13 degrees on either side for your ideal sleep temperature. And now, during our President's Day sale, save 50% on the Sleep Number limited edition smart bed, plus free home delivery when you add an adjustable base. Ends Monday. To find a store near you, visit sleepnumber.com.
Well, it's a great honor. It's obviously not the reason I volunteer, but it's nice.
Meet Chuck Bouillou, retired registered nurse, volunteer at Meals on Wheels, and another Jiffy Lube Do More winner.
And I'm Jiffy Lube owner Jennifer Sanner. At Jiffy Lube, we are rewarding Hoosier volunteers who use their vehicle to do more to make Indiana a better place to live.
Satisfying that I know that at least that day they will get a meal, maybe even 2 meals.
Each month, Jiffy Lube of Indiana provides a volunteer free vehicle maintenance for a year, whether it's someone who delivers smiles and supplies or drives somewhere to serve on site. Jiffy Lube supports local givers who count on their car to do more for Indy, and we love to hear their stories.
You get an oil change every couple months. It's nice.
If you know a volunteer who impacts your community, nominate them today to receive a year's worth of free vehicle maintenance. Just click the Do More tab at jiffylubeindiana.com.
Hey guys, it's Rob from my friends at Life Church, and this Sunday, maybe you've been saying, man, I'm feeling called to something different in my life. And there's a chance that could be a new church home or even a first church home. If that is you, I cannot recommend enough my friends at Life Church. They've had such a great impact on my life, on my family's life, and they are warm, they're welcoming. You got nothing to lose by checking out one of Life Church's 4 campuses across central Indiana, Noblesville, Fishers, Eagle Creek, and Pendleton. Or if you're saying, I just don't feel like getting out of the house, Life Church every Sunday has incredible online services, so you never even have to leave your home. Learn more about it all, lifechurchin.com.
Still thinking about what to get her for Valentine's Day? Make that special occasion last forever and surprise her with a gift from Pierce Jewelers in Carmel. Shop local, shop smart, shop Pierce Jewelers.
Hammer and Nigel here, inviting you to join us as we kick off the weekend every Friday around 5:45 with Beer Sample Friday, brought to you by our friends at Thompson Furniture and Mattress in Columbus.
You're listening to the Kendall and Casey Show on 93 WIBC.
Abdul's going to join us in just a bit. It is 11:36 with Kendall and Casey on 93 WIBC.
I have to read this email we got on this interview we did with Suzanne Crouch. The response has been just overwhelming and wonderful, and people really appreciate that. And look, you got a lot more there in 30 minutes than you've gotten in 7 years. And people know, and you now know, good, bad, or indifferent, if you love Holcomb and you think he's done a great job, then Suzanne's your person. And if you think no, then, you're probably going to look somewhere else. And that's what we kind of know out of that. And you've got, basically we had 25-ish minutes.
Yeah.
And we did everything in our power to move things around. And we love our fabulous sponsors and everybody who participates and helps to give as much time as we possibly could in the time.
Uninterrupted.
Right.
Yep.
Straight through. And in 25 minutes, when you've got 3 people and you've got, obviously, she's going to have to answer the questions in more than one word that we ask, and we want to be polite and good hosts and give her a chance, as we did, I think, on every single question. She was allowed to answer every single question that we asked and let her speak. You only have time for, I don't know, what did we get to ask? Maybe 8 or 9 questions in total? Because
I didn't get to half of my questions.
There's going to be some back and forth. And look, we prioritized 2020, because clearly that is the signature time of the Holcomb administration. It's the signature time of what the hyper-offensive stuff that Holcomb did. We had to find out how she felt about those things. We had to talk to her about the Medicaid stuff because that was a part of 2020. We had to talk about FSSA because that's clearly competency and governance.
And it's an ongoing issue today.
Absolutely. And so, unfortunately, when you only have 25 minutes and there are things you absolutely have to get to that are the number 1A thing, you're just going to run out of time. No, she has said she will come back, but it's just impossible to hit everything from every single person. If we'd had 3 hours, we wouldn't have been able to get to everything. And this one, even though it has been resoundingly, overwhelmingly positive, there's always one person, Casey. Are you ready? I'm going to read this email we got, and it's just, Cheryl, God bless you, and that's all I'm going to say. Okay, are you ready?
Yeah.
Here we go. Thanks for nothing, Rob. The one topic I was sure you would address, and you didn't, was property taxes.
Yeah.
Don't say you didn't have time. You talk about property taxes at least once a week on the show. Maybe more. That was something a lot of us senior citizens were hoping to hear. Cheryl. Okay, Cheryl, first of all, she didn't bring it up, which means she doesn't have a plan. It's not a central part of her deal.
Right.
Her deal with taxation is the axe the tax. We gave her ample opportunity to explain that. We didn't hear an explanation on what she would cut. We thought that was very important because it's a central part of her campaign. So in the time we had, I'm sorry that we weren't able to get to a thing that she hasn't prioritized and probably isn't a big deal for her. So you can kind of reasonable deduction that she ain't going to do nothing with it.
Right.
I thought we were all kind of smart enough to figure that out. But I'm sorry, Cheryl. And Cheryl, I promise, she said she will come back as we get closer to the election. We'll ask that like right out of the gate to make you happy, Cheryl.
Well, when it's not part of her platform, if you were to say, hey, what about property taxes? You'll just get some, standard boilerplate answer of, yeah, it's a real issue. We'll look into it.
Exactly. And they axed the tax.
Is a nothing burger.
Her thing. And we gave her a chance to walk through that. And it's just, it's funny. I mean, we laugh, but it's like no matter what you do. Can you imagine? Well, like, what should we have cut from that interview?
You can't please everybody.
Can you
all the
imagine
time,
if we
Rob.
hadn't talked about Malik Muhammad or the Petri dish or the riots or the locked? I mean, somebody would have been mad about that. If we hadn't gotten into the FSSA, somebody had been mad about that. If we hadn't asked her to talk about grading Holcomb, people would have been mad. You can't win, Casey.
Oh, I'm sorry. Hey, Abdul's going to join us next. You're listening to Kendall and Casey on 93 WIBC.
Tonight, Senator Schmidt of Missouri joins the Tony Kinnecast to call out the White House for threatening to stop all deportations if Republicans don't fund Ukraine. Tune in at 7 p.m. right here or the podcast anytime.
If you're sick and tired of the aches and pains in your joints and you dread the idea of surgery, you need to call QC Kinetics today. Tony Katz here. The state of healthcare is always changing. Old ideas like steroids and surgery are no longer your only options. Regenerative medicine at QC Kinetics is transforming lives with innovative, non-surgical, drug-free treatments that deliver lasting results. So if you have pain in your knee, your back, your shoulder, right? It's from arthritis or an injury. You got the injury at work. You got the injury playing pickleball. You don't have to let this pain keep you from living your best life. QC Kinetics, the revolutionary approach that can get you long-term relief with no downtime. That's right, no downtime from work, no downtime from your family, no drugs, no surgery. Call QC Kinetics today to get your free consultation. You can even visit on Saturdays. Make 2024 the year you reclaim your mobility. QC Kinetics is in Eagle Creek, Greenwood, and Carmel. Call 317-559-PAIN. 317-559-PAIN. QC Kinetics, 317-559-PAIN.
If you're facing $10,000, $20,000, or even $30,000 or more in credit card debt, medical bills, or other unsecured debt, there are programs available that can consolidate those debts into one single reduced monthly payment you can afford if you qualify. Accredited Debt Relief is on a mission to help you become debt-free in just 24 to 48 months. They've helped over 300,000 qualified consumers. Hardworking Americans just like you pay off more than $3 billion in debt, earning them an A+ rating from the Better Business Bureau. Accredited Debt Relief will tailor the program to fit your specific budget and financial situation. So call Accredited Debt Relief now for your free no-obligation savings estimate and let them help you take control of your financial destiny.
Call 800-530-3939. 800-530-3939. That's 800-530-3939. 800-530-3939. Program and services not available in all states.
Has the holiday season left you overwhelmed, stressed out, and overweight? Do you feel frustrated when you think about what you need to do to be healthy and feel better? You deserve a simple approach to a stronger, healthier, and more enjoyable life. Exercise Inc. has been helping people in Central Indiana reach their health and fitness goals for 20 years. The approach is simple. Strength train with a certified coach once a week for 20 minutes. Adopt the 9 simple habits you need to follow to change your health and lose weight. Then get out there and enjoy life because you'll be stronger and have more energy and you're going to feel better and you'll lose weight and you'll probably even look better too. And you may even be able to get off of some of those prescription medications. Exercise Inc., Avon, Brownsburg, Greenwood, Zionsville, and now in Fishers. The studios are private, no mirrors, no music, and no spandex. Just you and a professional coach working to reach your goals for the new year. Go to exerciseinc.com today to sign up for a free consultation.
Our country is being invaded. Thousands pour across the southern border every day, bringing fentanyl and violence. Who's to blame? Career politicians like Jim Banks. As a member of Congress, Jim Banks said that Indiana needed an influx of immigration. Jim Banks campaigned with political insiders like Paul Ryan and is endorsed by Mitch McConnell, who sabotaged the building of Trump's border wall. Jim Banks has betrayed Indiana on the border.
I'm John Rust, and I'm running to be your next United States Senator. I am a farmer, businessman, and political outsider. My opponent, Jim Banks, talks a big game about border security. Don't be fooled. Since Jim Banks said he wanted an influx of immigrants, we've seen over 8 million illegals pour into our nation. Jim Banks got his wish. Hoosiers don't want a senator who speaks out of both sides of his mouth, and America can't afford it. I am John Rust. I approve this message because I'll make sure Trump's border wall actually gets built from the Gulf of Mexico to the Pacific Ocean.
Paid for by John Rust for U.S. Senate.
The financial advisor industry is a flawed system. Find out how to fight back and protect your retirement on Expedition Retirement. Sunday mornings at 7 on WIBC.
Oh, yes, 93 WIBC. It is the Kendall and Kate. What? What? It's so funny.
I love you like my little brother.
Well, you just bring out the enthusiasm in me. What can I say? It is the Kendall and Casey Show. Look who it is. Author, broadcaster, provocateur, owner of IndiePolitics.org, Abdul Hakim Shabazz. Hello.
Hello, my brother. How's it going?
Oh, it's going great. So we got to start with this. And I feel very bad because we recorded our State House happenings this morning and which are Sunday mornings here on WIBC. I did not get to the fact that Diego Morales somehow managed to do something that even by Diego standards, you left yourself just going, what? And, of course, I'm talking about the fact that he endorsed Jim Banks for U.S. Senate, declared him the next U.S. Senator from his official office, tweeted out the photo from his official office. We looked it up on the internet, and it appears the rules are still very clear from the Inspector General. Don't do politics with official government resources. If somebody wants to make a case out of this, it seems like he could be in some trouble. Am I wrong?
You are not incorrect.
Oh, very good.
And Diego was doing so well. And when I saw that, I was like, wait a second. Because obviously, Jim Banks went and filed for himself and Donald Trump, got all the signatures in. And like the Secretary of State will do, they'll take pictures with the various candidates.
That's a common thing.
It's a common thing. Usually they'll do it outside the office, so the rotunda is a little bit of a different creature than the actual in your office
and
itself.
They generally do this with all the candidates. Hey, if I'm a Republican and this is your big day, and I'm here to support you participating in the political process.
Right. And so when Diego took his picture with Jim Banks in his office, like, okay, fine, whatever. But then Diego sends out a mailer saying, I endorse Donald Trump and Jim Banks, our next U.S. Senator. I was like, dude, come on. You got to be friggin' kidding me. Like, are you stuck on stupid?
Does he know? I mean, I don't, this seems to be mean, but Diego is such a buffoon. Does he even know? I mean, it's such common sense. But do you think Diego knows that he wasn't supposed to do that?
Well, I'm not sure if he knew or if he didn't. I know Jerry Bonnet would never allow that to happen. Jerry's the chief of staff in the Secretary of State's office, and Jerry would never, ever allow that to happen if he knew that's what was going on. My assumption is when Diego went to talk to Jim Banks, they probably spoke for a few minutes. Hey, let's take a picture, right? Bam, and we'll throw it up on social media. But then when he used it as campaign literature, it's like, dude, you can't do that type of stuff.
Because he is ultimately the decider of balls and strikes. He's the umpire. It's the equivalent of before Game 1 of the World Series. If it's the Dodgers and the Yankees or White Sox, yeah, good luck with that. That ain't happening anytime soon.
Yeah, like your Cubs. So.
Exactly. If the umpire, the home plate umpire, were to come out and declare the Dodgers, congratulations to the Dodgers on winning the World Series, and Clayton Kershaw is the World Series MVP. White Sox or Yankees fans or whoever are going to be going, wait a second. And
it's one thing. It's one thing to do an endorsement. That's fine if you're doing endorsement but not using government time and government resources to do this. I mean that was my thing. I don't mind the endorsement. I don't think endorsements matter at the end of the day, to be honest with you. But if you want to do an endorsement, that's fine. But do it the right way.
Yeah.
Because now you've made what would have been a non-story a story.
So what's going to happen now? Because it's pretty clear he did politics from his official government office. He used government resources to promote a politician. It's very clear on the Inspector General's website, and we read the thing on the air with Casey last week, that you can't do that. So what happens now?
I want to say someone would have to file a complaint with the Inspector General's office, and then they begin their process. So, and I don't know if a complaint's been filed yet, but I'll be checking on that day when I get back from court.
Abdul is our guest. Okay, so let's talk about kind of some of the other big things that are going on now. And the biggest thing, and you've been kind of doing a deep dive on this, is this bizarre behavior from Jim Banks about Nikki Haley and the signatures. David Shelton, who's the Knox County clerk, who is a Banks and Trump guy, by the way, was on with us yesterday, said, as of right now, she has the signatures. Multiple other people have reported she has the verified signatures pending challenges. This looks really bad for Jim Banks, doesn't it?
It was, once again, it's an unforced error, is what it is. And there have been a lot of unforced errors in Indiana politics these days, which I can only imagine what's going to happen around Valentine's Day. When a stupid thing happens that throws everything out of whack. No, you're absolutely right. With the signature requirement, there's sort of two deadlines. There's a deadline to have your signatures in and verified, and then there's a deadline to actually file. And between the time you file your signatures and the time you file your candidacy, what voter registration folks do is they go through the signatures, make sure you got them all. And what happened was that Nikki Haley only had she was 47 signatures short of getting on the ballot. But people forget that they're still processing signature.
And IU was down 15 points in the second half against Ohio State the other night. They still won the game.
Right.
They don't declare the game over with 10 minutes left to go.
Exactly. That's why you wait until you keep your powder dry. Like, hey, but let's ease off the accelerator just a little bit and just wait and make sure that everything is done, because people forget too that Marion County is two congressional districts. It's the 5th district and the 6th district.
Yeah, that's right.
And so sometimes the 6th district will end up in the 5th, and the 5th will end up in the 6th, so sometimes they'll get mixed up, so you got to go through all that process. But I trust that people in voter registration who have been doing this for 20, 30 million years to get this right.
And Trump says illogical stuff all the time, and it's almost part of his crazy Uncle Charm at this point, although it is weird. He didn't seem to know when the Indiana primary was. But so Trump gets it wrong, whatever. I mean, it's weird, again, that he even cares about Indiana because she's not even going to be running for president by the time we get here. But it's Jim Banks. Are we led to believe that Jim Banks, who wants to be a U.S. senator, doesn't know how our elections work? I mean, there's only two options here. Either he was trying to manipulate an outcome, or he doesn't know how the process works.
I tend to agree with what our colleague Jim Merritt said earlier on the program today, is that some staff was probably looking, just doing some checking, like, oh my God, the deadline's passed for signatures. She doesn't have them. Let me let Jim Banks know. Then Jim Banks told Donald Trump. So it's a classic of, can anything possibly go wrong? It did.
Yeah, well, but you and I have this all the time where you'll hear a story and you'll come to me and say, hey, did you hear? Can you confirm? Or I'll hear something and go, hey, can you confirm? We're getting the information right before we're putting it out there. For a guy who is a congressman, let's just take away the fact of the weirdness that his fetish of people not running for office. He looks so bad in this.
It's once again, it's an unnecessary, unforced error.
Speaking of signatures, we've got 6 Republicans running now for governor. It appears they all got the signatures. We're going to have Doden on tomorrow. We had Suzanne Crouch earlier. Monday, we're going to have Jamie Rittenauer on. That is the most incredible story, even if she gets 3 votes for governor, that with $17,000, she got those signatures. We were talking during State House happenings. I can't remember, in all the time I've been covering politics and government, somebody who wasn't either a highly connected politician or super rich guy like Braun getting the signatures for Senate or governor, and she did it with no money. It's amazing.
There are 2 ways to get signatures. There's the easy way and the hard way. The easy way is to go hire a firm. That's all they do and get their signatures. The hard way is to do what Jamie did. And I'll give credit where credit is due. You built your grassroots network. You got your signatures, and that's fine. But now, okay, that's just step number 1.
Well, she ought to write a manual, though, because we've talked about this before, about how hard it is to get those signatures. She cracked the code because she's going to be on the ballot. Assuming, you reported 6,000 signatures, so they'd have to find, 1,500 that were no good. Maybe they will. I don't know. But are you surprised? Take her out of the equation. Are you surprised that all 5, including Curtis, got the signatures?
No, not necessarily, because some folks have been starting for a while. And, for example, whether it's Braun, whether it's Chambers, Suzanne Crouch, they've all done this. They have the resources to get the signatures. So when you hire a firm, unless the firm is like Dewey, Cheatham and Howe, or or Duck and Dodge, or that would be one thing. But the fact that the candidates got the signatures does not surprise me. Will there be some challenges? Maybe, but the absolute filing deadline is Friday at noon.
Now, Monday is the Rust hearing.
Yes.
Are you going?
Oh, yes. I have my seat reserved.
Okay, very good. So he'll be in front of the Supreme Court to see whether he can stay on the ballot. Boy, it would be...
My money is this. It's hard to... You can't predict what a court's going to do, and I would never try to predict what the judges are going to do. My money right now is I lean towards... They keep things as they are.
Yeah, which means he would be able to run.
Right, because first of all, Judge Dietrich wrote an excellent opinion, 36 pages long. Number 2, the Supreme Court did not stay the order. And one of the things you can kind of tell where courts may be leaning is if they stay the order or not. And the fact they didn't stay the order tells me quite a bit.
Which would mean Rokita would lose again, which would be great.
This is just another loss.
Hey, are you working this weekend? Are you doing anything?
Actually, I'm working this weekend.
What's coming up on the Duel at Large at 1 o'clock on Saturday?
Victoria Sparks will be our guest. Talk about her decision to rerun again. Also, one of her challenges will be there. We talk about Indigo and the Red Line, and also some of the candidates for governor.
Saturday, 1 to 3, Abdul at Large, 93 WIBC. You're the best, Abdul. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, that's going to do it for us today. Stick around. Tony Katz coming up next. We'll see you here tomorrow, 9 until noon. It's Kendall and Casey Show, 93 WIBC.
Weather in Indiana. It's a couple of weeks. We go from Arctic sub-zero degrees to temperatures above freezing with buckets of rain. And you know what? That means potholes, ladies and gentlemen. I get off on West Street every day coming downtown to work. They're all over the place. It's one of the reasons why I'm a AAA member. For the peace of mind of their roadside assistance, flat tires, dead batteries, AAA is there 24/7, 365 days a year.
And if you need new tires, AAA's got you covered.